Chapter 369. Blocking with force. True chi is useless. Someone shouted. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, all kinds of forces burst out. Wind, fire, metal, wood, mountain, thunder, water, etc. Lu Ming discovered that among these people, most of them had comprehended the water force. It probably had something to do with the environment of the 1,000-river domain. Only by blocking with force could one move forward. Some martial arts grandmasters who had not comprehended the force directly knelt when they were 1,000 meters away. Those martial arts grandmasters who had comprehended the entry-level force could walk within 900 meters. Those who had comprehended the force at the early stage of lesser success could walk 800 meters. Those who had comprehended the force at the mid-stage of lesser success could walk 700 meters. Every time one's force was stronger, they could get closer to the gate of heaven. However, Lu Ming stood 1,000 meters away and did not move. He was comprehending carefully. He felt that the last palm of the 3 Dao palms, the heavenly palm, was very similar to the gate of heaven's aura. Heavenly Dao, the great Dao of heaven and earth. I see. After comparing the heavenly palm with the gate of heaven's aura, Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. He finally figured out a bit of the heaven's path palm. The heavenly palm was said to be infinitely close to a heaven-level martial skill once it was mastered. However, very few people in history could master it as it was too difficult. Lu Ming had been cultivating for a long time, but still could not find a way. At this moment, a door seemed to have opened in front of him. This aura, I have to capture this aura and engrave it in my heart. Then, I will reflect it with the heavenly palm. I believe that I will be able to master the heavenly palm soon. Lu Ming's mind raced as he tried to feel the aura with all his heart. After a while, Lu Ming blocked with force and advanced 100 meters, but he quickly retreated. The heavenly Dao aura in front was more intense, but at the same time it was more difficult to capture and engrave something. 1,000 meters was the most suitable. While Lu Ming was comprehending carefully, 2 figures continued to move forward at the fastest speed. They were 2 old men, and they were able to reach a distance of 300 meters. Extreme greater success. They are the Min River monsters. Someone recognized the 2 old men and shouted. Obviously, the 2 old men were very famous. Lu Ming took a closer look and discovered that their cultivations had reached the peak 8th-layer martial ancestor realm. If I can comprehend it within 300 meters, the effect will be the best. Moreover, when the divine gate spits out treasures later, the closer I am to it, the higher my chances of obtaining it. Some people were extremely envious. Everyone did their best to get closer to the heavenly gate. That way, their gains would be greater. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure came from afar. In an instant, he arrived at the mountain and continued to rush towards the heaven's gate. He was a young man in his 20s. A powerful aura erupted from his body, and his speed was extremely fast. Soon, he was within 300 meters. Who is this person? How could his aura be so powerful? You don't even know Li Qiushui? What? He's Li Qiushui, ranked 78th on the 1,000-river top 100 list? Someone was shocked. You 2 old fellows scram. As soon as Li Qiushui stepped within 300 meters, she looked coldly at the Min River monsters. The Min River freaks' faces sank. One of them said, Li Qiushui, what is the meaning of this? What do you mean? I'm asking you to scram. Within 300 meters, I'm the only one left. Li Qiushui sneered. Li Qiushui, isn't your appetite too big? I'm afraid you can't handle it, right? The Min River monsters said in a deep voice. Can't handle it? Just the 2 of you? You're not worthy. Li Qiushui was domineering. Li Qiushui, you might be a genius, but we brothers aren't afraid of you. The Min River monsters wouldn't give in so easily. If you don't scram, only death awaits you. Li Qiushui's eyes suddenly turned cold. Whoosh! A sword light broke through the air and charged towards the Min River monsters. "Do you think we're afraid of you?" The Min River monsters roared and used all their strength to resist. Boom! Boom! In just 5 to 6 moves, the Min River monsters trembled violently and retreated continuously. On their bodies, there was an additional sword wound that was so deep that their bones could be seen. SSS! Gasps could be heard from the audience. The famous Min River monsters were injured in just 5 to 6 moves from Li Qiushui. Wasn't Li Qiushui too powerful? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed and a trace of seriousness appeared in the depths of his eyes. He could clearly see that Li Qiushui's cultivation was at the peak of the 6th martial Grandmaster realm. The Min River monsters were 2 levels higher than him, but they were injured in just 5 to 6 moves. Li Qiushui's ability to fight across levels had already exceeded 2 levels. Generally speaking, it was the limit for those exceptional geniuses in the martial Grandmaster realm to fight across 2 levels. Geniuses like the 6 heroes of the Burning Sun tribe and those geniuses at the bottom of the Emperor Yun leaderboard could only fight across 2 levels. Those geniuses at the bottom of the Emperor Yun leaderboard had a much higher cultivation than the other geniuses, which was why they were on the Emperor Yun leaderboard. The top 10 geniuses on the Emperor Yun leaderboard were even more powerful. Not only did they have a higher cultivation, but their ability to fight across levels was also stronger. For example, Blue Cloud Dao and the others had the ability to fight across levels. They were 2 levels above, but not 3. They were between 2 and 3 levels. Lu Ming speculated that Jian Fengyin might be able to fight across 3 levels. Li Qiushui was able to fight across 2 to 3 levels. Lu Ming speculated that his combat strength was no weaker than Blue Cloud Dao and the other geniuses at the top of the Emperor Yun leaderboard. However, Li Qiushui was only ranked 78th on the top 100 list of the Xinjiang Water region. The top 100 list of the Xinjiang Water region had the same meaning as the Emperor Yun leaderboard. It listed the top 100 geniuses in the Xinjiang Water region. Being ranked 78th was already so powerful. Lu Ming had a deeper understanding of the other regions. If you don't get lost, you'll die. Li Qiushui was extremely cold. The Min River monsters' faces were extremely ugly. They gritted their teeth and retreated from the 300-meter area to the 400-meter area. Ha ha ha! Young Master Li Qiushui is indeed powerful. At that moment, there was a loud laugh. A red-haired man quickly ran toward the heavenly gate, emitting a powerful aura. He didn't stop until he reached the 300-meter area. "It's the red-haired water demon," someone exclaimed. Li Qiushui's eyes turned gloomy. He looked at the red-haired water demon and didn't say anything. The red-haired water demon's cultivation had reached the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. He wasn't confident that he could defeat him. The red-haired water demon wasn't afraid of Li Qiushui. He stood in the 300-meter area and looked at the heavenly gate with fiery eyes. At that moment, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Success! He had succeeded in engraving a faint wisp of heaven's path chi. As long as he thought carefully, he would recall the faint heaven's path chi. Although it was faint, it should be enough for him to practice the heaven's path palm. It's time to comprehend the force. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He then strode forward. He didn't stop. 800 meters, 700 meters, 500 meters, Lu Ming kept walking toward the 300-meter area. Bam! Finally, Lu Ming stepped into the 300-meter area. Chapter 370. Everyone's attention was focused on Lu Ming. Then there was a heated discussion. Who is he? How can he reach the 300-meter zone? How dare he reach the 300-meter zone? Isn't he afraid that Li Qiushui will kill him? Could he be a genius on the 1,000 River Top 100 list? I don't know. I have never seen him before. I have never seen him in the top 100 list during the Imperial Sky Divine Guard preliminaries. He shouldn't be a genius on the 1,000 River Top 100 list. Many people whispered to each other and looked at Lu Ming curiously. Li Qiushui's face darkened as he looked coldly at Lu Ming. "Brat, this is not a place for you to stay. Get out if you don't want to die," Li Qiushui said coldly. He was already furious that the red-haired water demon had stepped into this zone. Now, another person had come, and he was so young. "Haha, you keep asking people to get lost. I want to know if an expert stronger than you comes and asks you to get lost. I wonder what kind of expression you will have." Lu Ming curled his lips and smiled faintly. "What if? I am the strongest here. That is the truth." Li Qiushui looked coldly at Lu Ming. "You are the strongest? You really know how to flatter yourself." Lu Ming sneered. "Does that mean you have the confidence to fight with me? I would like to see where you get your confidence from." Clang! As soon as Li Qiushui finished speaking, a sword light that was as white as the Milky Way slashed out from his hand. It was as fast as lightning, like an immortal flying from the heavens. Lu Ming sneered as the demon banishing spear appeared in his hand. He swayed it and went forward. If Lu Ming had not broken through to the 5th realm of the martial ancestor realm, he might not be a match for Li Qiushui, who was on par with Blue Cloud. But now he wanted to test his combat strength. Boom! The spear radiance and the sword chi clashed, and there was a violent explosion. Both of them retreated as the force spread out. "So you do have some strength. Let's see how many strikes you can take." Boundless autumn water sword. Chi chi, sword chi, like the Milky Way of the 9 heavens appeared one after another, slashing towards Lu Ming. Wind fire slaughter. Lu Ming's spear shook and the power of wind and fire fused together. Spear lights shot out and collided with the sword chi. Intense explosions rang out in the air. All around, the crowd watched in shock. They did not expect that Lu Ming could actually fight Li Qiushui to a draw. There isn't such a person in the 1,000 River Top 100 list. Could it be that this person is a hidden genius and did not participate in the preliminaries? It shouldn't be possible. Which young genius wouldn't be tempted by the Empyrean Divine Guard's preliminaries? Putting aside the fact that after becoming Empyrean Divine Guard, one would be able to cultivate in the Empyrean Divine Palace's branch palace, there would be endless benefits. It said that there would be great opportunities in the preliminaries as well. Who would miss it? That's true. Could he be a genius from another region? Very likely. While the others were discussing, not far away, the red-haired water demon's expression was also extremely grave. Even with his early 9th realm martial ancestor realm cultivation, he did not dare to be careless. Boom, boom. The two of them exchanged dozens of blows, but it was still hard to determine the victor. Take my final move, Autumn Water's River Sword. Li Qiushui roared as a terrifying aura spread out. A river appeared and revolved around him. Lu Ming could see clearly that this river was formed by the convergence of sword auras. Endless sword auras condensed into a river. Kill! Li Qiushui roared as the river rushed towards Lu Ming. This was Li Qiushui's strongest move. It was extremely powerful. There was once an early 9th realm martial ancestor realm martial artist who was severely injured by this move and was almost killed. So powerful. If that brat doesn't have any trump cards, he's finished. The red-haired water demon thought. The other spectators had similar thoughts as well. Their eyes were wide open as they stared fixedly. They wanted to see how Lu Ming was going to counter this move. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness as he suddenly soared into the sky. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. There was a mysterious fluctuation coming from Lu Ming's body as he suddenly took a step forward. There was a faint dragon roar. Boom! Lu Ming's step seemed to carry the might of heaven and earth as a terrifying fluctuation spread out from Lu Ming's feet. Boom! The 9 dragons' heaven ascending steps and Li Qiushui's sword Qi river collided heavily. The heaven and earth shook violently as the force swept out. But for some reason, under the aura of the Heaven's Gate, it only spread out a few meters before dissipating. The force that could destroy a mountain did not cause much of a stir under the Heaven's Gate. Huff, huff! The force dissipated as Li Qiushui retreated a dozen steps while Lu Ming flew backwards. They were evenly matched. The rest of the people looked at Lu Ming in shock. Vaguely, there was a hint of awe in their eyes. Obviously, they had already treated Lu Ming and Li Qiushui as geniuses of the same level. The geniuses of the Thousand River region are indeed powerful. He is only ranked 78th. No wonder Jian Fengyan said that he was injured by a genius ranked 18th in the Thousand River region. Lu Ming thought to himself and was shocked. He did not know that Li Qiushui's heart was in turmoil, as he was extremely shocked. Lu Ming was only at the early stage of Martial Ancestor Realm 5. It was unbelievable that he could fight him to a standstill. He was a genius who could fight across more than 2 levels. In that case, wouldn't Lu Ming be able to fight across 4 levels? Li Qiushui had never heard of someone who could fight across 4 levels in the Martial Ancestor Realm. Even the monster ranked first in the Thousand River Top 100 list might not be able to fight across 4 levels. Where did this genius come from? How can he be so terrifying? Li Qiushui thought quickly as killing intent flickered in his eyes. However, he did not continue to attack. He stood aside and looked at Lu Ming cautiously. Lu Ming did not attack either as he looked at the Heaven's Gate. At that moment, the aura in the Heaven's Gate was getting thicker. There were already people sitting cross-legged as they started to comprehend the aura. This aura contains the Tao of heaven and earth. Let me comprehend the force of wind first. Lu Ming pondered. He then sat cross-legged and started to comprehend the force of wind. Of course, he paid attention to his surroundings. If anyone attacked him, he could retaliate at any time. However, no one attacked him. Li Qiushui's eyes flickered, but he did not attack. He also sat cross-legged and started to comprehend. Brat, when my force breaks through, it will be your death date. Li Qiushui thought viciously. Slowly, the place became silent. Most of the people started to comprehend and cultivate. Not long after, someone was overjoyed. It was obvious that he had gained something. Force of wind. There was wind blowing around Lu Ming's body. It was light and ethereal. Lu Ming successfully found the Tao of wind in the aura of the Heaven's Gate. Suddenly, his comprehension of the wind increased rapidly. Around his body, wisps of green wind were rotating. It was sometimes slow and sometimes fast. Half an hour later, the force of wind around Lu Ming suddenly withdrew and disappeared. Lu Ming opened his eyes, and there was a smile in his eyes. His force of wind had successfully broken through to the Great Achievement Realm. It was at the same level as the force of fire, and the two were in balance. Chapter 371. Continue. Immediately, Lu Ming continued to comprehend the force of wind. He wanted the force of wind to catch up with the force of fire. This way, the combination of the two forces could unleash the strongest power. Under the Heaven Gate, his comprehension of the force of wind could be described as advancing by leaps and bounds. Half an hour later, the force of wind went from the early stage to the middle stage. Another half an hour later, the force of wind broke through to the late stage and was only one step away from the limit of the great accomplishment. Boom! At this moment, there was a rumble not far away. Lu Ming sensed a powerful aura rippling from Li Qiushui's body. That was force. Li Qiushui's force was several times stronger than before. The force of water had reached perfection. Ha ha ha. Li Qiushui stood up and laughed heartily to the sky. An extremely powerful force radiated from his body and filled the entire place, forming a powerful pressure. Those who were in the midst of comprehending were all alarmed and stopped cultivating. Li Qiushui's force has broken through and reached perfection. This is too shocking. This time, his ranking on the 1,000-river top 100 list will increase greatly. Many people were discussing in shock. Force, from the great accomplishment to perfection, was too difficult. Many geniuses were stuck at this step and were stuck for their entire lives. Perfection represented perfection, and its power was much greater than that of great success. Kid, you didn't leave just now. Now you don't have the chance. Li Qiushui looked at Lu Ming with cold-killing intent in his eyes. His force had broken through perfection, and his combat power had increased greatly. Now he was confident that he could be ranked in the top 40 of the 1,000-river top 100 list, or even higher. Killing Lu Ming was a piece of cake. Lu Ming's lips curled into an inexplicable smile as he stood up slowly. He wanted to test the power of the force of wind and fire. The two looked at each other, and their powerful auras clashed, forming a powerful pressure. The red-haired water demon watched from the side with a serious expression. Buzz! At this moment, the heaven gate, hundreds of meters away, let out a rumble and shook violently. Rumble! The entire mountain peak shook violently. The heaven gate is going to spit out treasures. Someone shouted. Everyone was shocked as they looked at the heavenly gate with burning eyes. Humph, I'll let you off for now. Li Qiushui sneered. He retracted his aura and looked at the heaven gate. Let me go. There was a faint smile at the corners of Lu Ming's mouth. Wang. At this moment, the gate of heaven shook again. In the middle of the gate of heaven, it was misty like chaos, and no one could see what was inside. Suddenly, a few figures of light flew out of the gate of heaven. As soon as they left the gate of heaven, they made a violent sound of breaking through the air and flew into the distance. His speed was so fast that he covered a distance of several hundred meters in the blink of an eye. Those are a few broken weapons. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he clearly saw the true bodies of these figures. These light shadows were actually a few broken weapons. There were 4 of them in total. It was a battle sword, but the tip of the sword was broken. There was only half of a saber. There was also a spear, but the tail had disappeared, leaving only the tip of the spear. The last one was half an iron rod. Whoosh! Whoosh! Li Qiushui and the red-haired water demon pounced towards the broken weapons without hesitation. Li Qiushui pounced towards the broken sword, while the red-haired water demon pounced towards the half-saber. Lu Ming didn't stop either as he pounced towards the half-spear. Although the half-spear was fast, Lu Ming was even faster. In an instant, he was close to the half-spear. Wang! Just as Lu Ming extended his palm and was about to grab the spear trembled. A blurry figure rushed out from the spear, and an aura of Bai-Enai under the heavens erupted. This figure was incomparably tall, like a broken shadow. It couldn't be seen clearly at all. One could barely see that he was holding a spear and thrusting it towards Lu Ming. It was terrifyingly powerful. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Lu Ming didn't hesitate as he took a step forward and clashed with the spear. Bang! There was a violent explosion. Lu Ming felt his feet go numb, and he couldn't help but take 3 steps back. As for that figure, it began to tremble. Then, with a bang, it collapsed and disappeared. Lu Ming's eyes moved. True qi gushed out and wrapped around the half-spear, and he held it in his hand. The spear was pitch black, and it could be seen that it was densely covered with saber and sword marks. It had obviously gone through a fierce battle. At the same time, an ancient and desolate aura spread out from the spear, full of the aura of time. I don't know how long this spear has gone through, but the spear still contains a trace of the spear's owner's inextinguishable fighting spirit. It's really amazing. I wonder what kind of existence the owner of this spear was. Lu Ming looked at the spear and sighed secretly. The half-spear had gone through too much time and had lost its spirituality. However, the material of the spear was extraordinary. Lu Ming couldn't see what material it was made of. He gripped the spear tightly, and there wasn't a trace of a mark on it. After all, it came from the gate of heaven. I'll keep it first. With a move of his hand, he kept the half-spear. In the other direction, the broken saber and the broken sword had all kinds of strange phenomena, but they were all defeated by Li Qiushui and the red-haired water demon. As for the half-iron rod, it flew far away. Under the siege of more than 10 experts, it was finally taken away by a burly man. Buzz! At this moment, the gate of heaven shook again. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 light figures flew out. Lu Ming looked and was surprised. This time, it was actually 2 pieces of dried branches. 2 pieces of black dried branches. Swoosh! 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 Without any hesitation, the red-haired water demon, Lu Ming, and Li Qiushui pounced on the 2 pieces of dried branches like lightning. Get lost! Li Qiushui and the red-haired water demon were closer. Li Qiushui shouted coldly, and a dazzling sword light, as white as the Milky Way, cut through the void and slashed at the red-haired water demon. The power of the perfect stage was extremely terrifying. The red-haired water demon shouted angrily and did not dare to take it head-on. He quickly retreated. Li Qiushui reached out and grabbed the dried branch in his hand. On the other side, the red-haired water demon retreated and missed the time. Lu Ming also grabbed the other dried branch in his hand. This dried branch was black as if it had been burnt. It did not have the slightest vitality, as if it was really a dried branch. But considering the wonders of the gate of heaven, Lu Ming still kept it. Kid, hand over that dried branch. Quick, hand it to me. Li Qiushui's eyes were cold as he looked at Lu Ming and scolded with a commanding tone. Why don't you fucking take a piss and look in the mirror? Who do you think you are? Trash, and you want me to hand over the dried branch? You must be dreaming. Lu Ming glanced at Li Qiushui and said coldly. Li Qiushui's face immediately turned green. His eyes were extremely cold and murderous. He said, Kid, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because we were tied. Now, I'll let you know the power of the perfect stage. Boom! A powerful aura exploded from Li Qiushui's body. Boom! At this moment, the gate of heaven shook again. Another thing spurted out from the stone gate. Chapter 372. Whoosh! The stone egg flew into the distance. It's mine! Li Qiushui shouted and pounced towards the stone egg with a flash. Yours? Are you dreaming? Lu Ming sneered and pounced towards the stone egg. At the same time, the red-haired water demon's expression changed and pounced towards the stone egg. Courting death! Li Qiushui shouted and slashed towards Lu Ming and the red-haired water demon. Boom! Boom! There were 2 booming sounds, and the red-haired water demon retreated backward. However, Lu Ming did not move at all. You! Li Qiushui's expression changed. Is this the power of the perfected force? It's just SOO. Get lost! Lu Ming sneered and then shouted. His spear shook and the great success wind and fire force merged and drew towards Li Qiushui. Boundless autumn water sword. Li Qiushui slashed out and the perfected force of water erupted. Clang! The spear and the battle sword clashed. Instantly, Li Qiushui's expression changed. Lu Ming's attack was like a hot knife through butter. Li Qiushui's perfected force of water was forced to retreat. How could this be? Li Qiushui let out a roar of disbelief. His eyes were filled with disbelief. His force had already broken through to the perfected stage, and its power had increased by several times. Lu Ming's force was still at the great success stage. How could it be stronger than his? This was too unbelievable, and Li Qiushui could not accept it. Bang! Li Qiushui's body was sent flying, and he retreated dozens of meters. His face was pale. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the stone egg. The moment he grabbed it, Lu Ming's hand trembled slightly and his expression changed. Heavy. This stone egg was unbelievably heavy. Given Lu Ming's current cultivation level and the strength of his physical body, he could even lift something that weighed 1,000,000 pounds with one hand. But this stone egg could make Lu Ming's hand tremble. Its weight was definitely not less than 1,000,000 jin. A stone egg that was the size of a human head actually weighed 1,000,000 jin. This was simply unbelievable. The stone egg was not round but oval. It was very similar to an ordinary animal egg. Wait, this is... Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He felt that there was a wisp of life aura in the stone egg. Although this wisp of life aura was extremely weak and could be ignored, it was indeed a wisp of life aura. Could this really be a living creature's egg? It's still alive? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He was shocked. A living creature's egg weighing 1,000,000 jin. What kind of living creature's egg was this egg? Lu Ming's imagination. Ah, die. Die for me. Autumn water sword technique. At this moment, Li Qiushui roared and a river of sword aura blasted toward Lu Ming. This was Li Qiushui's killer move. It was much stronger than before. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. He moved his hands, wanting to keep the stone egg in his storage ring. With no time to think, Lu Ming took a step forward with the stone egg in his hand. 9 dragons sky, stomping steps. The 9 dragons sky stomping steps had merged the power of wind and fire. This was Lu Ming's strongest killing move. Bam! Lu Ming crushed Li Qiushui's river of sword aura with a single step. The immense force did not stop there and blasted on Li Qiushui's body. Crack! Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Li Qiushui let out a blood-curdling scream as blood spurted from his mouth. His body flew out a few thousand meters like a cannonball. Brat, don't let me meet you in the divine guard selection. Otherwise, I will make sure you die a horrible death. A furious roar, filled with killing intent, could be heard from afar. The voice was getting further and further away. Li Qiushui took this opportunity to escape. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, but he did not give chase. Li Qiushui's combat strength was not much weaker than his. Although he was injured, it was not fatal. Now that he was running for his life, it would not be easy for Lu Ming to catch up to him. The others were dumbfounded. They were all guessing which region Lu Ming was from for him to be so powerful. Li Qiushui's power had reached the great perfection stage. He would definitely be in the top 40 of the Qianjiang water region's top 100 list. With such combat strength, he was actually kicked by Lu Ming to the point where he vomited blood and fled for his life. Some of the elders sighed. It was really a case of the new generation replacing the old. Buzz. At this moment, the heavenly gate continued to tremble. However, to Lu Ming's disappointment, nothing was spurting out anymore. After a while, nothing was spurting out anymore. Many people were also disappointed. Most of them came here this time. Other than using the aura of the heavenly gate to comprehend their power, they did not gain anything else. They looked at Lu Ming. This time, it was no doubt that Lu Ming had gained the most. He had obtained a total of 3 things. Half an hour later, the mountain started to tremble violently. The heavenly gate is disappearing. Someone shouted. Everyone flew away from the mountain and stood in the air. Rumble. The mountain shook, and a huge whirlpool formed under the river. The mountain was slowly disappearing. After a while, the mountain and the heavenly gate disappeared completely in the whirlpool. The river regained its calmness. As for the aquatic creatures in the river, they all dived into the water and disappeared. Let's go. Seeing that the heavenly gate had disappeared, many people left. Soon, only Lu Ming was left. This stone egg can't be stored in a storage ring. Looking at the stone egg in his hand, Lu Ming was amazed. Can the Temple of Paragon be stored in it? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. No living creatures could be stored in the Temple of Paragon, except for himself. This stone egg also had the aura of life. He wondered if he could store it in it. With a thought, the stone egg disappeared. It can be stored in it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. If the Temple of Paragon could not be stored in it, Lu Ming was speechless. He could not possibly carry a stone egg that weighed millions of pounds around all day, right? Let's find a place to study it. Lu Ming's figure flashed and disappeared. An hour later, in a quiet place thousands of miles away, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and took out the half of the spear. After studying it carefully, he found that the half of the spear had no other reaction except that it was extremely hard. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. He put away the spear and took out the withered branch. The withered branch was as black as ink, as if it had been burnt. There was no aura of life. However, it had one thing in common with the spear. It was extremely hard. No matter what Lu Ming did, he could not leave a mark on it. It was just a withered branch, but it was so extraordinary. Lu Ming was shocked. He kept it carefully. Perhaps it would be useful in the future. Finally, he took out the stone egg. After sensing it carefully, there was indeed a weak aura of life. It was very faint. If he did not sense it carefully, he would not have noticed it. What on earth was in there? Was it really an egg? Or was there a living creature sealed inside? Lu Ming guessed, letting his imagination run wild. Let's inject true qi and see. Then Lu Ming injected true qi into the stone egg, but there was no effect. Then he took out spiritual herbs and spiritual crystals, refined the essence inside, and injected it into the stone egg. Still, there was no change. Chapter 373. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only give up. I'd better comprehend the heavenly palm. Lu Ming memorized a trace of Heaven's Gate's aura in his mind and used it to corroborate with the heavenly palm to comprehend the heavenly palm. This cultivation was indeed very effective. Lu Ming's comprehension of the heavenly palm deepened greatly, although it was impossible to cultivate it successfully in a short period of time. As long as he persevered, Lu Ming believed that it would not be long before he succeeded. A few hours later, Lu Ming continued to move and rushed towards the myriad star city according to the map. A few days later, Lu Ming left the Thousand River region and came to another region. This region was called the Eight Desolation Swamp region. The Eight Desolation Swamp region, as its name suggested, was filled with swamps of various sizes. The small ones were like ponds, while the large ones spanned tens of thousands of miles or even hundreds of thousands of miles. In the swamps, there were all kinds of creatures, most of which were poisonous. Similarly, in the Eight Desolation Swamp region, there were also martial artists who established kingdoms. Most of them cultivated poisonous techniques, and their overall strength was even stronger than the Thousand River region. Lu Ming flew in the air, secretly amazed by the wonders of nature. Just like that, Lu Ming hurried along. When he was tired or felt something, he would stop to cultivate. Sometimes he comprehended the heavenly palm. Sometimes he comprehended the force of wind and fire, and sometimes he comprehended the second step of the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps. Therefore, his speed was not very fast. A journey that would have taken a month took him more than 2 months, almost 3 months. When he arrived at the Myriad Star City, there were still 5 days before the selection of the Emperorian Divine Guards. Along the way, his comprehension of the heavenly palm deepened day by day, and he was not far from succeeding. In addition, the force of wind had also broken through and reached the limit of greater mastery. It was on par with the force of fire, but it was still very difficult to break through to perfection. The slowest progress was the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps. He still had not succeeded in cultivating the second step. This is the Myriad Star City. When Lu Ming stood at the foot of an incomparably huge mountain and looked up at the sky, he was extremely shocked. What appeared in front of him was an incomparably huge mountain that occupied at least a few hundred miles. This mountain was different from an ordinary mountain. The base of a normal mountain peak was the widest. The higher one went, the narrower the peak would be. However, the mountain peak was like a stone stick. The foot of the mountain, the middle of the mountain, and the peak were all the same width. It towered straight into the sky, reaching a height of 10,000 meters, and disappeared into the clouds. and the Myriad Star City was built on this mountain peak. However, this was not what shocked Lu Ming. What shocked Lu Ming was the size of Myriad Star City. The area of the Myriad Star City was more than 10 times larger than the area of this mountain. This mountain was only a small part of the middle of the Myriad Star City. Most of the area of the Myriad Star City was suspended in the air, which was thousands of miles wide. The mountain peak and the Myriad Star City were like an umbrella. The mountain peak was the pole, and the Myriad Star City was the umbrella. The Myriad Star City, which was thousands of miles long and wide, covered the sky and the sun, casting a large shadow on the ground. Lu Ming's eyes were sharp. He discovered that on top of the steep mountain there were many suspension bridges. Those were for people below the martial ancestor realm to get on and off. Wu Zongs could directly fly in. Lu Ming soared into the air and flew towards the Myriad Star City. The closer he got to the Myriad Star City, the more he felt the majesty of the city. The surrounding city walls, which were thousands of meters tall, were pitch black. Densely packed inscriptions were carved on them. There were no soldiers guarding the city walls. However, there was an incomparably horrifying aura spreading out. It was only one side of the city walls, but Lu Ming could already feel hundreds of powerful auras. These auras were so strong that each one was not weaker than the overlords of the Blazing Sun Empire like Yan Quan and Lin Shui. Half-step kings. These auras were actually all half-step kings. Among them, there were a few auras that were as deep and unfathomable as the ocean. They were majestic, many times stronger than half-step kings. Lu Ming only sensed a little, and he felt a horrifying pressure that made it difficult for him to breathe. King-level aura. These are definitely peerless martial king experts. Lu Ming was astonished. At the same time, he was also astonished. The Myriad Star City was indeed worthy of being the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's branch in the eastern part of the Tianqian region. Its strength was simply too strong. It was said that the entire Myriad Star City was built by the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's peerless experts. This was only one side of the city wall. Compared to the entire Myriad Star City, it was nothing. However, it was already so horrifying. This is the stage for experts. The Blazing Sun Empire is too small. Lu Ming took a deep breath. His eyes sparkled, filled with battle intent. Then he flew toward one of the gates of the Myriad Star City. There was no one guarding the gate. There was only an inscription array platform. If one wanted to enter the Myriad Star City, they had to pass through the array platform. If an enemy of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace entered, the array platform would sense it. There were many people coming and going at the gate. It was very lively. Of course, those who could enter and leave were all martial masters. After entering the gate, Shaoqin arrived at an extremely wide street. The street was 100 meters wide. There were all kinds of rare beasts and martial masters on the street. Most of them were young people. A portion of them were middle-aged, and some were old men and women. As the selection of the Emperor Heaven Divine Guards approached, the geniuses and experts from all over the eastern part of the Tianqian region gathered. Naturally, there were more people. Experts, they were all experts. Lu Ming casually sensed and realized that the people on the street were all experts. Many of the middle-aged and old men were at least in the 8th or 9th stage of the martial ancestor realm. There were even many half-step kings. Half-step kings were the overlords of the Blazing Sun Empire. They were unparalleled. In the intermediate empires, half-step kings were also the overlords. However, they were no longer the strongest. Intermediate empires had kings. In the advanced empires, half-step kings were nothing. They were only peak experts. In a place like the Myriad Star City, half-step kings were only ordinary experts. Only kings were the true experts. As for the young men and women on the street, they were all dragons and phoenixes. They were in high spirits and full of confidence. Every one of them had a powerful aura. Even the weakest one was stronger than Feng Wuji and Ling Yanqi. These were all geniuses from all over the eastern part of the Tianqian region. Those who could come here were all geniuses who had passed the preliminaries. None of them were weak. Lu Ming looked left and right, sizing up his surroundings. Soon after, he found a shop and asked the shopkeeper about the location of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Unexpectedly, the shopkeeper thought for a long time before remembering the location of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. The reason was that the Cloud Emperor mountain range was too small. Therefore, he didn't have a deep impression of it. Lu Ming followed the shopkeeper's directions and spent more than an hour to find the Cloud Emperor mountain range's courtyard. Every region in the Myriad Star City had a courtyard. It was managed by the elder of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace in that region. It was convenient for the geniuses of that region to gather. The courtyard was quite big, enough for thousands of people to live in. Lu Ming walked into the courtyard and registered. Naturally, someone led him to his room. Chapter 374. In the courtyard, Lu Ming realized that a portion of the Cloud Emperor mountain range's geniuses had already arrived. For example, Su Yingying, Wang Kai, and the others. On top of that, Lu Ming also saw Yang Liuji, Yan Feishuan, Blue Cloud, and the others. When they saw Lu Ming, their eyes flashed with killing intent. Lu Ming smiled coldly. If he had the chance, Lu Ming wouldn't mind killing them all. However, Jian Fengyan, Prince Tianxi, Qiu Changkong, and the others were nowhere to be seen. After taking a look around, Lu Ming returned to his room and continued to cultivate. A few 100,000 li away from the Myriad Star City, there was a cultivation sacred ground called the 100 Deities Slope. At this moment, Qiu Changkong walked out from the 100 Deities Slope with messy hair. His aura was several times stronger than before. Lu Ming, let's see how you're going to die this time, Qiu Changkong said in a cold voice, his eyes flashing with killing intent. Also, Jian Fengyan of the Cloud Emperor leaderboard, it's time to give up the first place. Qiu Changkong had been cultivating at the 100 Deities Slope for a few months, and his cultivation had improved greatly. Even his force had broken through to the Great Circle. Whoosh! An old man suddenly appeared beside Qiu Changkong. Master! Qiu Changkong immediately bowed respectfully. Changkong, although your cultivation is good, you're still not considered top-notch among the geniuses in the Tianqian region. There are still many uncertainties in joining the Emperorian Divine Guards. The old man said, there are so many geniuses in the Tianqian region. Qiu Changkong asked in disbelief. With his current cultivation and battle strength, he wasn't even considered top-notch? The Tianqian region's east is vast, and your generation is considered a golden age. Geniuses are popping up like bamboo shoots after a rain. It's hard to stand out. The old man sighed and said, however, don't be discouraged. Your talent can be considered top-notch in the entire eastern region of the Tianqian region. Some people are stronger than you only because they have more resources than you and their cultivation is deeper than you. You won't be weaker than them in a battle of the same level. As long as your cultivation is higher, you might be able to compete with them. The location of the trial is most likely the Dongming ancient battlefield. I know of a secret place in the Dongming ancient battlefield that contains great fortunate encounters. If you are able to find the fortunate encounter there, your cultivation will improve tremendously, and it's not impossible for you to become one of the top geniuses of the eastern region of the Tianqian region. After saying that, a jade talisman appeared in the elder's hand. He passed it to Qiu Changkong and said, the information about that secret place is in this jade talisman. Take it and have a look. Changkong thanks master. Qiu Changkong was overjoyed. He took the jade talisman and knelt on the ground respectfully, kowtowing to the elder to thank him. Go on. Show off your abilities in the selection of the D. Tian Divine Guards, the old man said with a smile. Yes. Qiu Changkong expressed his gratitude. He then moved and headed towards the Myriad Star City. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. The Cloud Emperor's courtyard was bustling with activity. Almost all the geniuses who had passed the preliminaries had arrived. Jian Fengyan, Prince Tianxi, Qiu Changkong, and the others had all shown up. However, Xian Yinqing had yet to arrive. This made Lu Ming a little worried. Previously, Xian Yinqing had said that he would find a place to cultivate in seclusion and would rush over to the Myriad Star City. There were still 2 days before the start of the selection, and Xian Yinqing had yet to arrive. Could he have been delayed by something? Although Lu Ming was worried, there was nothing he could do but wait. On this day, the leader of the Cloud Emperor mountain range, old Lu Xiao, gathered everyone together and announced some matters regarding the selection. The selection would be held in an ancient battlefield. This ancient battlefield was called the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. It was considered a plain and was a secret place under the control of the Di Tian Divine Palace. It was filled with dangers and opportunities. There were 3 months of free time inside. In these 3 months, one's overall ability would be tested. This included one's wisdom, courage, combat strength, and opportunities. Opportunities were one's luck. Luck was also one of the most important factors for a martial artist. 3 months later, they would exit from the final exit. There were many checkpoints at the exit to filter out the reserve Di Tian Divine Guards and the official Di Tian Divine Guards. The Di Tian Divine Guards would be selected once every 5 years. The location of the selection was different every time, but it was filled with opportunities and dangers. According to Lu Xiao, the Dongming Ancient Battlefield had not been used for the selection of Di Tian Divine Guards for 100 years. He had no idea what would happen inside. After the announcement, Lu Xiao allowed them to move freely and gather in 2 days. In the following time, they went to various bookstores in the Myriad Star City to look for books that recorded the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. They wanted to know more about the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. The more they knew, the more confident they would be. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. However, there was still no sign of Xian Yinqing. Lu Ming felt anxious and worried. Something must have happened to Xian Yinqing. Otherwise, she would have definitely come and missed the selection of Di Tian Divine Guards. However, Lu Ming did not know where Xian Yinqing had gone. Otherwise, he could have gone to look for her. Let's not worry about that for now. Xian Yinqing is someone who will not be taken advantage of. She might not be in trouble. Let's finish the selection of Di Tian Divine Guards first. Lu Ming pondered. On this day, all the geniuses in the Cloud Emperor mountain range gathered in a courtyard of the Cloud Emperor's residence. Out of the 97 people, only Xian Yinqing was missing. Everyone else had arrived. Lu Xiao glanced around and did not say anything. It was normal for there to be fewer people. All right, I'm sure all of you are clear about the rules of the selection. However, let me reiterate. The 3 months in the Dongming Ancient Battlefield are especially important. The Dongming Ancient Battlefield is an ancient land from the primordial era. It is vast and boundless. It is filled with danger, but it is also filled with opportunities. Some people can soar to the sky in these 3 months. Some people will become stepping stones for others and be killed. According to my experience, it is best for all of you to work together after entering the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. This is the safest way. Take these 10,000 miles sound transmitting talismans. Each of you will have one. You can communicate with each other in the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. Lu Xiao took out the 10,000 miles sound transmitting talismans and distributed them to everyone. Thank you, Elder Lu. Everyone thanked Lu Xiao. You don't have to thank me. I only hope that more of you can join the Di Tian Divine Guards. The better your results, the more rewards I will receive. Lu Xiao was very direct and spoke his intentions. This made everyone have a better impression of Lu Xiao. All right, let's set off now. The entrance to the Dongming Ancient Battlefield is 100,000 miles north of Myriad Star City. After Lu Xiao finished speaking, he soared into the sky. Everyone followed him out of the northern city gate and headed north. At this moment, the situation was the same everywhere in Myriad Star City. Groups of geniuses soared into the sky and headed north. The small number of people was around 100, and there were even dozens of people. The large number of people was in the thousands. Chapter 375. A journey of 100,000 miles was merely a few hours for everyone. The East Ocean Stone Peak was their destination. When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, they saw a boundless stone forest. The area was made up of countless stone peaks, and each peak was more than 100 meters tall. The entrance to the East Ocean ancient battlefield is among these stone peaks. The entrance has not opened yet. Lu Xiu explained. The group stopped not far away from the stone peaks and looked at them from afar. At this moment, Shifeng's surroundings were densely packed with people. Ha ha ha, Lu Xiu, you're early. How many trash have you brought this time? At this moment, an arrogant laugh was heard. Then swoosh, swoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard as a large group of people flew towards them. There were a lot of people, and Lu Ming saw at least 600 to 700 of them. The leader was a skinny middle-aged man in a black robe. The group stopped not far away from Lu Ming, and the skinny middle-aged man looked at Lu Xiu mockingly. Zhao Sui, it's you? Lu Xiu's face darkened when he saw the skinny man. Haha, what's wrong? Lu Xiu, you don't welcome me? Well, every time you lead the trash from the Cloud Emperor mountain range to the D Tian Divine Guard selection, you failed miserably. The Cloud Emperor mountain range has not had anyone join the D Tian Divine Guard selection for 2 consecutive years. Compared to the Qianjiang water region, it's a terrible sight. The skinny man, Zhao Sui, laughed mockingly. Lu Xiu's face darkened. However, Zhao Sui obviously did not want to give up. He looked at the people from the Cloud Emperor mountain range and clicked his tongue. I didn't expect so many people from the Cloud Emperor mountain range to pass the preliminaries. Let me see how many there are. TSK, there's still 97 of you. Compared to the 689 people from the Qianjiang water region, there's only a difference of 500 to 600. Also, Lu Xiu, aren't you too cruel? These 97 people should be all the geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. If all of them die in the Dongming ancient battlefield, the Cloud Emperor mountain range will fall even further. Zhao Sui's triangular eyes scanned the people of the Cloud Emperor mountain range, full of mockery. Zhao Sui, you. Lu Xiu's face was extremely ugly. The faces of the others in the Cloud Emperor mountain range turned ugly. Ha ha ha! A bunch of trash actually dares to think that they can pass the selection of the D Tian Divine Guards. They really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and are indulging in wild fantasies. In the Thousand Rivers region, some youths also laughed mockingly. The youths from the Qianjiang water region looked at the Cloud Emperor mountain range with disdain. Damn it! Young Master Heavenly Snake, Blue Cloud, Taoist Tao, and the others were all proud and arrogant. How could they endure such contempt? They all gritted their teeth. Kid, it's you? Haha, I finally found you. Suddenly, an enraged roar could be heard from within the water domain. A young man flew out, staring coldly at Lu Ming. Li Qiushui. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This young man was Li Qiushui. It seemed like the other party had already discovered him. Li Qiushui, what are you doing? You ran away so quickly the last time. Are you thanking me for not killing you this time? Lu Ming said with a smile. Kid, you deserve to die. Let's see who can save you this time. Li Qiushui roared. Oh, you can come and try then. Lu Ming looked at him from the corner of his eyes. Junior brother, is the kid you're talking about the trash from the Cloud Emperor mountain range? At this moment, a young man in a blue robe walked out from behind Li Qiushui and asked indifferently, Senior brother Jiang, that's right. It's him. Not only did he use despicable means to snatch the treasures that I obtained from the Heaven Gate, he even plotted against me and injured me. Li Qiushui said loudly, Despicable means? Plotting against you? Hearing such words, Lu Ming wanted to laugh. Li Qiushui was too shameless. Lu Ming had defeated him head-on, but he said that he had plotted against him. You're indeed from the Cloud Emperor mountain range. You only know how to plot against me. Kid, I'll give you 3 breaths' time to hand over the treasures that junior brother Li Qiushui obtained from the Heaven Gate. Then, kneel down and admit your mistake in front of everyone. If so, I'll only cripple your cultivation and spare your life. Senior brother Jiang looked at Lu Ming coldly, speaking as if he was giving alms. Sai, when is the Dongming battlefield going to open? I'm not in a good mood now that I've been surrounded by a few dogs barking at me. Lu Ming simply ignored senior brother Jiang and swept his gaze across the stone peaks. Senior brother Jiang's face turned pale. Lu Ming dared to ignore him. He was digging his own grave. Boom! A terrifying aura burst out from senior brother Jiang's body. A perfect aura was formed. Together with his powerful cultivation, it formed a strong pressure that spread across the entire place. At the Cloud Emperor mountain range, other than Jian Fengyun and Lu Xiao, everyone was shocked. Senior brother Jiang's strength was terrifying. The feeling that he gave off was comparable to Prince Tianxi, who was ranked 2nd on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. Lu Ming's face turned solemn as he looked at senior brother Jiang. Kid, go to hell. You won't even have the chance to beg for mercy now. Senior brother Jiang's face darkened. You talk too much. If you want to fight, let's fight. Lu Ming said coldly. He was fearless. With his current strength, even if he couldn't defeat senior brother Jiang, senior brother Jiang wouldn't be able to stop him if he wanted to leave. Clang! At this moment, a sword chime was heard. A figure suddenly appeared between Lu Ming and senior brother Jiang. It was Jian Fengyun. Jian Fengyun. Senior brother Jiang's face turned solemn when he saw Jian Fengyun. Jian Fengyun had once roamed the Thousand River region, and senior brother Jiang had seen him before. There was only one person in the Cloud Emperor mountain range that he was wary of, and that was Jian Fengyun. He didn't care about the others at all. Jiang Chen, today is the day of the selection of the Emperor's Sky Divine Guards. Why? Aren't you afraid of offending the big shots of the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace by fighting here? Jian Fengyun looked at senior brother Jiang and said coldly, Haha, Jian Fengyun, I advise you not to interfere. Otherwise, I won't just leave a scar on your face like the previous time. I'll take your life. At this moment, a loud laugh was heard from the Thousand River region. A handsome young man walked out. Jian Fengyun's face turned solemn when he saw the young man. Back when he was roaming the Thousand River region, he was injured by this person. This person was the 18th genius in the Thousand River region. Jian Fengyun had fought with him for hundreds of moves and was defeated in one move. That was then. Now I'll win. Jian Fengyun's eyes were like 2 divine swords that were filled with confidence. Win. What a joke! The handsome young man sneered in disdain. A great battle was about to break out. Zhao Sui looked on coldly from the side, waiting to watch a good show. On the other hand, Lu Xiao's face was extremely gloomy. The geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range and the geniuses of the Thousand River region were like eggs hitting a rock. There was no way to compare, and the outcome would be miserable. Chapter 376. Boom! Boom! At this moment, several terrifying auras appeared in the sky. They were as unfathomable as the ocean. Everyone was shocked as they looked up and saw 4 figures appear in the sky above the stone peaks. These 4 figures were standing in 4 different directions of the stone peak. Each of them was shining with a bright light. Some are gold, some are red, and some are blue. They couldn't see their real bodies, but their auras were too shocking. Kings, they are kings! The kings have appeared. The entrance to the Dongming ancient battlefield is about to open. Someone shouted. The tense atmosphere between Lu Ming and the geniuses of the Qianjiang water zone eased. Wang, Wang, The four kings made their moves. Rays of bright light shot out from their hands and entered the stone peaks. At this moment, the stone peaks glowed and countless inscriptions flashed. "Kid, you better hand over those treasures. Otherwise, even if we don't kill you now, you will die once we enter the Dongming ancient battlefield." Li Qiushui looked coldly at Lu Ming. Lu Ming curled his lips and ignored him. Li Qiushui's face turned red. "Junior brotherly, why are you talking so much to him? Once we enter the Dongming ancient battlefield, just kill him. Not only do we have to kill him, we have to kill everyone from the Cloud Emperor mountain range until they surrender." Jian Chen said with a cold smile. "That's right, that's what I want. It's time to let these barbarians know how powerful we are," the handsome young man said with a cold smile. Hearing this, the geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range were shocked. There were so many people in the Qianjiang water zone and countless geniuses. If they really attacked them, their trip to the Dongming ancient battlefield would be in danger. Damn it, it's all Lu Ming's fault. Yang Liuji roared in his heart. He wasn't strong enough and would be in trouble if he encountered the experts of the Qianjiang water zone. "Go ahead." Lu Ming smiled faintly. "Hee, let's wait and see at the Dongming ancient battlefield." At this moment, Zhao Sui laughed coldly and flew to the side. The geniuses of the Qianjiang water zone glanced at them unkindly and followed Zhao Sui to the side. Wong, wong. At this moment, the countless stone peaks shone even brighter. Countless inscriptions appeared and gathered in the sky, gradually forming a large array. "Open!" The four martial emperors uttered a roar. Suddenly, the formation condensed, and a black vortex appeared in the sky. This whirlpool was incomparably huge. It covered the boundless stone peak and was incomparably boundless. This is the entrance to the Eastern Underworld ancient battlefield? It's too big." Countless people were dumbfounded. "All right, the Dongming ancient battlefield has opened. You can enter now." An imperious voice came out from one of the emperors. "Let's go in. Let's go." Immediately, the crowd flew toward the vortex. "Remember, all of you should try your best to enter together. That way, when you arrive at the Dongming ancient battlefield, you will have a higher chance of being teleported to a close distance." Lu Xiu instructed. Everyone nodded, and the group of 98 people rushed toward the vortex. As soon as they rushed into the vortex, they felt the sky and earth spinning. Lu Ming and the others disappeared without a trace. "Kill! Kill!" Lu Ming began to feel the sky and earth spinning. In the next moment, earth-shattering shouts rang in his ears. Lu Ming's eyes swept over, and his pupils rapidly shrank in shock. In front of him, countless figures were crisscrossing in the sky. The smell of blood permeated the air. There was a fierce battle going on here. Boom! Large hands blotted out the sky. Sword Qi cut through the sky. Spear light pierced through heaven and earth. Flames burned everything. Strong, too strong. Countless experts that Lu Ming could not imagine were fighting. The entire world was torn apart. Incomparably powerful experts were killed one after another. Their corpses fell to the ground like dumplings. What's going on? Where is this? Lu Ming was shocked. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sword light slashed toward Lu Ming. This sword light seemed to come from the depths of the universe. Space was torn apart. It was boundlessly terrifying. Lu Ming's strength was insignificant in front of this sword light. Ah! Lu Ming let out a long cry. He was unwilling to be killed just like that. He wanted to resist with all his might. Boom! He felt his vision turn black. In the next moment he opened his eyes. There was a gentle breeze, and the fragrance of flowers assailed his nostrils. Lu Ming realized that he was standing on a grassland. The grassland was filled with wild flowers. The terrifying battlefield just now had disappeared without a trace. Could it be that everything just now was an illusion? This place is called the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. Perhaps it's just a reflection of the real scene back then. Lu Ming guessed. Perhaps everyone who had just entered would have seen the scene just now. It was condensed from an immortal battle intent. It flowed between heaven and earth, and even time couldn't decay it. This ancient battlefield is probably not simple. According to the records, the Dongming Ancient Battlefield is just a corner of another ancient battlefield. It was separated from the original world and was condensed by the experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Lu Ming pondered. At this moment, his expression changed. A 10,000 miles voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. There was a message from Jian Fengyin. He had gathered the people of the Cloud Emperor mountain range at a place. It's in the north. If I can receive the 10,000 miles voice transmission talisman, it means that it's within 10,000 miles. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He intended to act alone. However, since it wasn't far away, there was no harm in taking a look. He soared into the air and headed north. He arrived at a distance of less than 10,000 miles in an instant. There were already dozens of people gathered by a small lake. All of them were geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. When Lu Ming arrived, everyone's eyes were on him. Swish! Swish! Suddenly, a few figures flashed and surrounded Lu Ming in the middle. They were Blue Cloud, Yan Feishuan, Yang Liuji, and a few others. Lu Ming, you actually dare to gather here. You're courting death. It's not easy to kill you outside, but there's no need to worry about the Dongming Ancient Battlefield. Blue Cloud said. Yan Feishuan and the others' voices were extremely cold. You want to kill me with just a few pieces of trash? Ridiculous. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he smiled faintly. Lu Ming, don't think that you're stronger than me just because your score was higher than mine in the preliminaries. Now, I'll let you know my true strength. Great Sun, Divine Fist. Yan Feishuan roared. His fist was glowing as he threw out a punch. A resplendent sun appeared and blasted towards Lu Ming. Its power was several times stronger than Yang Liuji's Great Sun, Divine Fist. Boom! Lu Ming was very direct. He swept out his long spear and merged the power of wind and fire. Puff! Yan Feishuan's Great Sun, Divine Fist was like a small flame that was extinguished. The spear light did not stop and blasted on Yan Feishuan's body. Yan Feishuan screamed as his body flew out like a cannonball for 1,000 meters. He coughed out mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale and his eyes were filled with horror. You dare to say that you're strong? Chapter 377. There was a dead silence. Most of the people looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Lu Ming is too strong, right? During the qualifiers, although Lu Ming's points were higher than Yan Feishuan's, it wasn't by much. Their combat strength should be at the same level. Now, Lu Ming had beaten Yan Feishuan to the point where he coughed up blood. How could they be at the same level? Blue Cloud Dao's face froze. His eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. Even he couldn't injure Yan Feishuan in one move. Could it be that Lu Ming's combat strength is above his? How is that possible? Yang Liuji's face was pale. His eyes were wide open, and he almost peed in his pants. Lu Ming's combat strength is too scary. Lu Ming, what are you doing? You've just arrived and you've injured your own people, reducing the strength of our Cloud Emperor mountain range. What are you trying to do? Blue Cloud Dao rolled his eyes and suddenly shouted. That's right, Lu Ming. You've offended the people of Qianjiang Water Region and you're making us the scapegoat. I suggest that Lu Ming leave the team. The person that Qianjiang Water Region wants is Lu Ming, not us. As long as Lu Ming isn't here, the people of Qianjiang Water Region shouldn't make things difficult for us. Yang Liuji, who was hiding behind Blue Cloud Dao, shouted. Since they can't beat Lu Ming, they'll use force to suppress Lu Ming and force Lu Ming to leave the team. That's right, Lu Ming. If you're in the team, all of us will be harmed by you. Blue Cloud Dao also shouted. The rest of the people also looked at Lu Ming unkindly. They felt that Blue Cloud Dao and Yang Liuji's words made sense. You want me to leave? Even if you don't say anything, I'll leave. But before I leave, I'll kill a few of you. Lu Ming sneered. Swish! Lu Ming stabbed his spear towards Blue Cloud Dao. Spear light burst out. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure flashed and appeared in front of Blue Cloud. A jet black sword light slashed out and collided with Lu Ming's spear light. Boom! Qi energy shot out in all directions. Lu Ming's body swayed, and he retreated 3 steps. Young Master Tian Shi. The person who suddenly attacked was Young Master Sky Snake. Young Master Tian Shi's face was gloomy as he looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, you've gone too far. You did something wrong and implicated others. Now you actually want to kill people. Do you really think you're invincible? Oh, seems like you want to meddle in other people's business? Lu Ming sneered. What do you mean by meddling in other people's business? Brother Lan is my best friend. Moreover, he's right. You should get out of the team to avoid harming others. Young Master Tian, she said sinisterly. Reptile, let's see if you can stop me. Lu Ming exuded a powerful aura. What did you say? You're courting death. Young Master Tian, she emitted a cold, murderous intent. Lu Ming actually dared to call him a reptile. Damn it. Young Master Tian, she exuded a terrifying aura. He was much stronger than Blue Cloud Dao and the rest. Young Master Tian, she was ranked 2nd on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard and could compete with Zhen Fengyin. He was definitely not someone Blue Cloud Dao could compare to. His combat strength was terrifying. Lu Ming was probably not his match now. However, Lu Ming was fearless. Even if he was not his match, it was impossible for young Master Tian Shi to kill him. Everyone, this Lu Ming is a scourge. Leaving him alive will only cause our deaths. Why don't we attack together and kill him? At this time, Blue Cloud Dao shouted to the others in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. The others' eyes flickered. That's right. I agree with Brother Lan. Someone stood out and looked at Lu Ming with murderous intent. I agree too. More than 10 people stood out one after another. Together with young Master Tian Shi and Blue Cloud Dao, they formed a powerful force and pressed down on Lu Ming. Among them, there was a genius like Ji Rafeng, who was ranked 7th on the Cloud Emperor leaderboard. However, there were also some people who stood still. Haha, Lu Ming, you have become the public enemy. Surrender now. Blue Cloud Dao sneered. Do you think you can kill me with just the likes of you? Lu Ming Dao sneered. He was not afraid at all. Everyone. At this time, Zhen Fengyin walked out and frowned. The incident at Qianjiang Water Region has nothing to do with Lu Ming. Qianjiang Water Region has always looked down on us. Even without Lu Ming, I'm afraid they will not show mercy to us. Why? Zhen Fengyin, are you going to protect Lu Ming? Young Master Tian Shi asked. I'm not protecting anyone. I'm just speaking the truth. Zhen Fengyin Dao frowned even more. Zhen Fengyin, if you want to protect Lu Ming, then there is no way for us to work together. Let's leave. Young Master Tian, she said coldly. At this time, Lu Ming Dao sneered. His gaze swept over young Master Tian Shi, Blue Cloud Dao, and the others. Murderous intent flickered in his eyes as he said, Didn't you want me to leave? I'll leave, but the next time we meet, I will kill all of you. Today, Lu Ming Dao wanted to kill Blue Cloud Dao, Yang Liuji, and the others in one fell swoop to eliminate future troubles. However, with young Master Tian Shi's interference, it would be difficult. Moreover, Lu Ming Dao estimated that Zhen Fengyin Dao would intervene if a battle were to break out. Zhen Fengyin Dao would not be biased, but with his interference it would be impossible to kill Blue Cloud Dao, and the others. Since that was the case, it would be better for him to leave first and raise his cultivation and battle strength. The next time, he would kill Blue Cloud Dao and young Master Tianxi. There's also Qiu Changkong. Lu Ming Dao swept his gaze around, but he did not see Qiu Changkong's figure. It seemed like Qiu Changkong did not teleport nearby. Next time, you're the one who will die. Young Master Tian, she sneered. He also wanted to kill Lu Ming Dao, but with Jian Fengyan Dao's interference, he knew that it was impossible. Is that so? Lu Ming Dao sneered, and his figure flashed as he quickly left the place. Seeing Lu Ming Dao leave, young Master Tianxi, Blue Cloud Dao, and the others sneered. The night in the Dongming ancient battlefield is extremely dangerous. Lu Ming Dao, let's see how you're going to survive alone. You still want to have a next time? Dream on. Blue Cloud Dao laughed loudly in his heart. Swoosh! Lu Ming Dao soared into the sky and was already 10,000 miles away in a short moment. I must find a way to raise my strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will be difficult to achieve anything in the Dongming ancient battlefield where geniuses are as common as clouds. Lu Ming Dao pondered. This area was full of life, unlike the desolate and deathly silent battlefield that he had imagined. It seemed that after a long time, this land had recovered its vitality. From time to time, he could see groups of demonic beasts. However, these demonic beasts were not of high levels, so Lu Ming Dao had no interest in hunting them. Also, it's best to find an ancient city before nightfall. Otherwise, it will be very dangerous. Lu Ming Dao frowned. 2 days ago, he had also studied the records of the Dongming ancient battlefield. According to the records, the Dongming ancient battlefield would become very strange and dangerous at night. Lu Ming Dao continued to fly forward. Soon, a vast mountain appeared in front of him. Ancient trees towered over the vast mountain, and the roars of beasts were continuous. Lu Ming Dao did not stop and flew over the mountain. Caw! Before he could fly far, a sharp cry rang out. A huge, strange bird rushed out from the forest, flapping its wings and creating gusts of wind. A pair of sharp iron claws grabbed at Lu Ming Dao. A Class 7 4th level demonic beast. Chapter 378. A Class 7 LV-4 demonic beast was equivalent to a martial arts grandmaster, LV-7 martial artist. Finally, a high-level demonic beast. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. At the same time, a long spear appeared in his hand. Whoosh! The long spear pierced through the air and pierced the strange bird's chest. The strange bird cried out. A large hole was blasted open in its chest. It was completely devoid of life as it fell from the sky. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed forward and controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline to devour the blood essence of the strange bird. At the same time, he split open the strange bird's body and took out a monster pill. Lu Ming would not miss the monster pill of a Class 7 LV-4 demonic beast. The 9 dragons' bloodline swallowed the monster pill and began to refine it. A part of the blood essence and monster pill's energy was converted into genuine qi. Unfortunately, Lu Ming's current cultivation was only at martial arts grandmaster LV-5. The blood essence and monster pill of a Class 7 LV for demonic beast were of limited use to him. There seems to be high-level demonic beasts in this forest. I'll hunt them while I search for the ancient city. After making up his mind, Lu Ming continued to fly forward. Roar! Not long after, there was a loud roar. A ferocious tiger with 2 heads dashed out of the forest and pounced on Lu Ming. After a while, the tiger's blood essence and monster pill were converted into Lu Ming's genuine qi. The forest was very large. Lu Ming had been flying for 5 or 6 hours, but he still could not fly out of the forest. In the process, Lu Ming had killed more than a dozen Class 7 and 8 LV-4 demonic beasts and refine their blood essence and monster pills. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the peak of the early stage of martial arts Grandmaster LV5. He had not reached the middle stage of martial arts Grandmaster LV5. Lu Ming was speechless. At this time, the sun had set and night had begun to fall. Since the sun had set, the forest had become quiet. There was no sound at all, other than the sound of the wind. All other living creatures seemed to have disappeared at this moment. It was as if all other living creatures had disappeared at once. Heaven and earth were silent. Lu Ming frowned and rushed down the forest. Sure enough, there was not a single demonic beast in the forest. Not even a single insect could be seen. Lu Ming advanced through the forest, his gaze sweeping the area. After a while, he made a discovery. A wolf-shaped demonic beast was hiding in an underground cave that was more than 10 meters deep. It was shivering in fear. Lu Ming frowned as he left the underground cavern and continued forward. At some point in time, the sky was filled with thick, dark clouds, and the world was plunged into darkness. Even with Lu Ming's cultivation, he could only see a few hundred meters away. Huff, huff, gusts of cold wind blew past, and it was especially eerie. Lu Ming frowned. With a flicker, he landed on a large tree and observed his surroundings. Ga, ga, ga. Suddenly, a series of strange cries rang out in the distance. The cries seemed to be coming closer and closer, as if they were rushing towards Lu Ming. Ga, ga, ga. The cries grew louder and noisier. It didn't seem to be coming from one thing, but from many things. But in the next moment, those voices suddenly disappeared without a trace. Where did you go? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Huff, huff. A gust of cold wind blew past Lu Ming's neck. Not good. Without thinking, Lu Ming soared into the sky. Chi, a cold and sharp force, swept past Lu Ming's body and hit the big tree that Lu Ming had just landed on. The big tree was directly cut in two and fell to the ground. Ga, ga, chi chi. The strange cries rang out again. At the same time, a cold and sharp force attacked Lu Ming. What the hell is this? Die for me. Lu Ming swept out with his long spear. But Lu Ming felt that the long spear swept out, as if it was sweeping the air, and there was no place to exert force. In the next moment, a cold force attacked from behind Lu Ming. Swish! In an instant, Lu Ming's body soared into the sky. Looking down from the sky, Lu Ming finally saw what attacked him. 7 or 8 black shadows in human form. Their facial features couldn't be seen clearly. They were drifting in the air at an extremely fast speed. These damn things can't be real ghosts, can they? Lu Ming was shocked. He felt that it was very possible. This was an ancient battlefield. Countless creatures had died in the past. Blood flowed like rivers, and resentment filled the sky. It was possible for ghosts and evil creatures like ghosts to be born. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming stomped down. Buzz! An inexplicable vibration spread out. A terrifying force erupted from Lu Ming's feet. Vaguely, there was even the sound of a dragon's roar. Ga, ga, those black ghosts seemed to be very frightened. They let out ear-piercing and unpleasant cries. But under the 9 dragons, stomping the sky steps, they instantly turned into ashes and dissipated. It seems that the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps has a miraculous effect on these damn things. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It made sense. Dragons were powerful creatures that stood at the peak of all things in the world. They were sacred and could not be offended. Not to mention the 9 dragons that were stronger than ordinary, true dragons. The 9 dragons stomping the sky steps was named after the 9 dragons stomping the sky. It naturally contained the will of the 9 dragons. With one step, the evil spirits retreated and the ghosts dissipated. Ga, but these black ghosts were defeated. The ear-piercing cries came from afar again. More spirits were charging towards them. let's get out of here first. Lu Ming took a step forward and quickly flew into the distance. In the pitch-black world, the strange cries continued. Lu Ming looked around. There were black shadows flying everywhere. It was like a group of demons dancing. Chi-chi, a few spirits flew toward Lu Ming, emitting beams of cold and sinister energy. Boom! Lu Ming swept out with a spear. 100-meter-long spear light shattered the cold forces and scattered the ghosts at the same time. But in the next moment, those ghosts gathered together again. However, they seem to have become smaller. It's not completely ineffective. Using force to attack still has some effect. It's just that the effect is not as good. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Swish! Swish! Then he swept out 2 more times. The thick spear light blasted out, containing the powerful force of wind and fire. The ghosts were scattered again. When they gathered again, they were much smaller. Lu Ming did not stop and rushed past. There were more ghosts blocking his way. Lu Ming scattered them in the same way. This was all thanks to Lu Ming's fusion of wind and fire. If it was just one force, even if it was perfect, it would not have such an effect. As for the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps, although the effect was good, it consumed too much energy. Lu Ming would not use it unless it was necessary. Just like that, Lu Ming rushed forward. But after 100 miles, Lu Ming suddenly stopped and looked ahead in shock. Kacha kacha! In front of him, there was actually a group of soldiers in iron armor. However, the iron armor on each soldier was tattered and full of saber and sword marks. It was full of the aura of time. Every soldier held a large black iron sword in their hands, and they were filled with fighting spirit. But the terrifying thing was that it was impossible to see the faces of each soldier. At a glance, it was a black fog. In the place where their eyes were, there were 2 scarlet lights. Are these the legendary ghost soldiers? Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. The group of ghost soldiers walked forward step by step and disappeared into the darkness. No one knew where they were going. This ancient battlefield is indeed evil and terrifying. No wonder it is said to be extremely dangerous at night. Chapter 379. Just like that, Lu Ming moved forward very slowly. After a few hours, Lu Ming had only traveled a few thousand miles. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, there was a violent roar in front of him, as well as the strange cry of the spirits. Someone was besieged by the spirits. Lu Ming's figure flashed and approached, only to find that it was a young man and a young woman who were surrounded by more than a dozen black spirits. The young man and woman were both at the early stage of the 5th level. They were considered geniuses and could fight across 2 levels. But among the geniuses who came in this time, they were considered inferior. At this time they were surrounded by danger, and their bodies were covered with wounds, which were obviously caused by the black spirits. "Little sister, go quickly, I'll hold them back." The young man shouted. "Big brother, if you want to go, you go, I'll hold them back." The young woman also shouted. However, with their combat strength and great accomplishment, the damage to the spirits was minimal, and they couldn't break away from the encirclement of the black spirits. The 2 of them rushed left and right, but it was useless. Instead, they attracted more spirits. "Damn it, I'll fight it out with you." The young man roared, holding his saber and slashing wildly. But it was useless. Those spirits were cut apart and condensed again, not shrinking much. Instead, there were a few more wounds on his body. "Big brother!" The young woman screamed in despair. "Little sister, go." The young man ignored her and continued to attack those spirits. But everything was in vain. Just when the 2 of them were in despair, boom! In the distance, spears shot out and pierced the bodies of those specters. In an instant, those specters were scattered. The young man and woman were stunned at first, then ecstatically rushed out together and escaped the encirclement of the spirits. In the next moment, those spirits condensed again, but their size was much smaller. They're so small." The young man and woman were extremely shocked. Both of them were in the middle stage of the great accomplishment, but the effect was extremely weak when attacking these spirits. But the spear light just now made the spirits shrink by a lot. The power contained in the spear light was simply incredible. Even if it was in the perfect stage, it was impossible to have such power. The two of them hurriedly looked in the direction of the spear light. A young figure strode over. He was ridiculously young, not even 20 years old. This person was, of course, Lu Ming. Ga. At this moment, the specters rushed towards Lu Ming's group. "Not good. Brother, run." The young man's expression changed drastically as he shouted, "If I don't get rid of these specters, I'll be able to leave, but you won't be able to." Lu Ming said indifferently, "Solve? This kind of specter is simply difficult to deal with. Brother, I beg you, please save my little sister and leave." "I will hold back these specters," the young man shouted anxiously. He raised his saber and was about to step forward. "No, we're leaving together." The young woman also shouted, "Little sister, don't be stubborn. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave." The young man roared, "Whoosh! Whoosh!" At the same time, he slashed out with his saber. Saber light slashed out and cut the spirits in half. However, it was useless. The spirits recovered and continued to attack. "Let's go," the young man shouted. "Your little sister is right. If we're leaving together." At this moment, Lu Ming smiled faintly and suddenly stepped out. Boom! A terrifying force spread out in front of him. Bam! 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 The dozen or so specters exploded one after another like balloons. After they exploded, they couldn't condense at all. They directly turned into energy and dissipated. The young man and woman were stunned. A single kick had destroyed the specters, and they couldn't condense at all. What kind of strength was this? Or rather, what kind of force was this? How could it be so terrifying? According to their understanding, these specters were extremely difficult to destroy. Even a perfect force wouldn't have much effect. Those exceptional geniuses with high cultivation would most likely die if they were to face these specters alone. Only those exceptional geniuses who had comprehended a trace of intent through force would be able to quickly kill these specters. However, there weren't many of such geniuses in the entire Tianshan region. To comprehend a trace of intent through force, such a person could be called a half-king as long as his cultivation reached the peak of martial ancestor, realm 9th level. How many people could reach this stage in their 20s? Could this young man who wasn't even 20 years old be that kind of genius? The young man and woman let their imagination run wild. "Let's go now." Lu Ming interrupted their daze and took the lead to fly to the front. The young man and woman hurriedly followed. The reason why Lu Ming saved the two of them wasn't because he was merciful. He just felt that the two of them had a deep sibling relationship and were willing to sacrifice themselves in the face of danger. Lu Ming was touched and saved them in passing. With Lu Ming leading the way, as long as they didn't encounter too many specters, there wouldn't be any problems. The three of them moved forward and time slowly passed. 5 to 6 hours later, the sky began to brighten. Purple chi came from the east and a ray of sunlight shone on the earth. The moment the sunlight appeared, the specters between heaven and earth disappeared without a trace. The dark clouds in the sky also dispersed. Soon after, the cries of insects and the roars of beasts could be heard. The scene was full of vitality, and everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. The three of them let out a sigh of relief and were inwardly amazed. This Dongming ancient battlefield was truly mysterious. "Brother, I am Songyu, and this is my younger sister, Songjing. Thank you for saving us this time. Otherwise, we would have died in this ancient battlefield." The young man bowed towards Lu Ming. "Brother Song, you don't have to be so polite. I just happened to be passing by and helped you along the way." Lu Ming smiled and said, No matter what, we will remember brother's kindness in our hearts. All right, may I know brother's name? Song Yu cupped his fists and said. Song Jing was obviously more shy. She blinked her big eyes and looked at Lu Ming without speaking. I am Lu Ming. Lu Ming said. So it's brother Lu. Song Yu clasped his fists again. I don't know what you two are planning to do next. To be honest, with your cultivation, I'm afraid it's not good for you two to be outside at night. Lu Ming asked. The two of us were unlucky. When we were teleported in, we were separated from the people in our area. We didn't know how far away we were, so we could only find a city to hide in. According to our family elders, there should be a small city not far from this forest. We wanted to hide there, but before we could reach it, it was already dark. Song Yu explained. Is there a small city in front? Lu Ming asked. One of our family elders went to the Dongming ancient battlefield to participate in the selection 100 years ago. According to him, there should be a small city in front. Brother Lu, why don't we go together? Chapter 380. All right. Lu Ming nodded. He also wanted to find a city to stay in. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the mood to cultivate at night. Song Yu and Song Jing were overjoyed to see Lu Ming agree. Immediately, the three of them continued along the mountain range. Tens of thousands of miles passed in a flash. After tens of thousands of miles, they finally walked out of the forest. After the forest, there was a plain. The three of them flew for a few more hours. Finally, a small city appeared in front of them. The three of them were overjoyed and hurriedly flew over. The city wasn't big, only a few miles in radius. There are people on the city wall. Song Jing whispered. Lu Ming and the others also saw it. It seemed that someone had arrived at the city earlier. There were about a dozen people standing on the city wall. Outside the city, there were 1 or 2 people who seemed to be talking to the people on the city wall. However, they were too far away to hear clearly. The three of them flew directly toward the city. Swoosh! Swoosh! However, when the three of them approached the city, several sharp sword qis shot towards the three of them. The three of their expressions changed. They stopped abruptly and avoided the sword qi. Their expressions were ugly as they stared at the city wall. The sword qi just now came from the city wall. What are you doing? Why are you stopping us from entering the city? Song Yu shouted. You can enter the city if you pay 10 million spirit crystals each. A young man on the city wall sneered. This young man was dressed in a black robe with a skull embroidered on it. In fact, the other dozen young men on the city wall were dressed in the same way. They wore black robes with skeletons on them and were obviously from the same force. 10 million spirit crystals? You're clearly taking advantage of the situation. Song Yu shouted. Robbery? Don't make it sound so bad. This is called a refuge fee. You can take refuge in the city after paying the spirit crystals. The black-robed, skeleton-like man smiled faintly. Why, this city is a public place. Why should we pay you a refuge fee? Below the city wall, there were 2 other young men who had arrived earlier than Lu Ming and the others. They shouted at this moment. Why? Because we're stronger and we're disciples of the Serene Demon Palace. Hurry up and pay. If you don't pay, get lost. If you don't, you'll end up like that. The black-robed young man shouted coldly as he pointed a finger into the distance. Everyone looked over and saw several corpses. They were all youths. Those who paid the spiritual crystals have all gone in to rest. Those who didn't pay the spiritual crystals and tried to force their way in will end up like them. The black-robed skeleton shouted coldly. The faces of the 2 young men, Song Yu and Song Jing, were extremely ugly. The disciples of the Serene Devil Palace were too overbearing. Moreover, the dozen or so Serene Devil Palace disciples all exuded powerful auras. There were 13 people in total, and 6 of them were emitting auras of the peak 5th-layer martial ancestor realm. The other 7 were all 6th-layer martial ancestor realm experts. Two of them even emitted peak 6th layer martial ancestor realm auras. Those who could enter the Dark East ancient battlefield were all geniuses. At the very least, they could fight opponents 2 levels above them. Some could even exceed 2 levels. This was an extremely powerful force. Even the weakest of them could be ranked on the Cloud Emperor ranking list in the 36 countries of Emperor Yin. The 2 strongest youths were at the peak of the 6th layer martial ancestor realm. They were definitely not weaker than Blue Cloud. As for Song Yu and Song Jing, they were only at the early stage of the 5th layer martial ancestor realm. The other 2 youths were only at the late stage of the 5th layer martial ancestor realm. The difference was too great. At this moment, should they retreat or advance? If they retreated, they would have to face countless spirits at night. There might even be other eerie things. Death was the only way out. However, if they were to advance, they would have to pay 10 million spiritual crystals each. 10 million spiritual crystals was a huge sum even for genius martial ancestor realm experts like them. Although they could afford it, it would hurt them greatly. We'll pay. The other 2 youths hesitated for a moment before they finally made up their minds. They gritted their teeth and each took out a storage ring and handed it to the black-robed skeleton. The black-robed skeleton checked the storage ring and said with a satisfied smile, "At least you know what's good for you. Go in." The 2 youths flew into the city with ugly expressions. "We'll pay too," Song Yu said with a sigh. "Pay? I've never had the habit of giving spiritual crystals to others for free." At this moment, Lu Ming smiled faintly. His words naturally reached the black-robed skeleton's ears. The black-robed skeleton who had been talking previously looked coldly at Lu Ming and said, "Brat, if you're not going to pay, get lost. Don't be an eyesore here. Otherwise, I don't mind getting rid of you." He could see the cultivation levels of Song Yu, Song Jing, and Lu Ming. They were all trash in the early stage of martial ancestor realm, and he did not take them seriously. Get lost? You're the ones who should get lost. Now get lost. I want this city. Lu Ming shouted. Everyone was dumbfounded. What did Lu Ming just say? He wanted the people from the Serene Demon Palace to get lost? He wanted to take over the city? Crazy, crazy. This brat must be crazy. Even Song Yu and Song Jing were shocked. What was Lu Ming doing? Was he going to fight the people from the Serene Demon Palace? It was impossible for him to win. Although they knew that Lu Ming's force was extremely powerful and was even stronger than a perfected force, Lu Ming's cultivation level was only in the early stage of martial ancestor realm. No matter how strong his combat strength was, even if he was an extremely rare Battle 3 talent, he would not be a match for the people from the Serene Demon Palace. There was actually a popular name for those geniuses who could fight beyond their level. They were called Battle 3 talents. For example, those who could fight beyond 1 level were called Battle 1 talents. Those who could fight beyond 2 levels were called Battle 2 talents. Those who could fight beyond 3 levels were called Battle 3 talents. Of course, this referred to fighting beyond one's level in the martial ancestor realm. For other realms, they were not called that. Most of the peerless geniuses were Battle 2 talents. Those who could surpass Battle 2 talents were few and far between. As for those who could reach the level of Battle 3, that was even rarer than phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. For example, Blue Cloud said Li Qiushui and even Prince Sky Snake were between Battle 2 and Battle 3. Lu Ming speculated that Jian Fengyan might be a Battle 3 talent. Brat, what did you say? The black-robed skeleton thought he had heard wrongly. I told you to get lost. Lu Ming repeated himself. Ha ha ha, you told us to get lost? You're just trash in the early stage of martial ancestor realm. Today you're dead meat. Even if you're a Battle 3 talent, you'll still die today. Kill him. The black-robed skeleton waved his hand. Die. Immediately, a disciple from the Serene Demon Palace flew out, and a sharp sword light pierced towards Lu Ming's throat. This youth was at the peak of martial ancestor realm 5th level, and was a Battle 2 talent. Unless Lu Ming was a Battle 3 talent, he would definitely die. You're the one who's going to die. Lu Ming shouted coldly and took a step forward. At the same time, a spear light shot out. Puff! The spear light pierced through the chest of the youth from the Serene Demon Palace. The youth from the Serene Demon Palace screamed, and his body was sent flying by the spear light. With a clang, he was stabbed into the city wall. Chapter 381. What? How is this possible? Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. The commotion had alerted the people in the city. 7 or 8 people flew into the sky to observe the battle. It was obvious that they had paid 10 million spiritual crystals to enter the city. How dare you? The black-robed skeleton roared. The eyes of the other youths from the Serene Demon Palace turned cold as a powerful aura burst out from their bodies and suppressed Lu Ming. To be able to kill a peak 5th-layer martial ancestor realm World War II genius with a single strike, he was definitely a Battle 3 genius. Brat, how dare you kill someone from the Serene Demon Palace? Even if you're a Battle 3 genius, you will die today. One of the youths from the Serene Demon Palace yelled coldly. The aura he emitted was extremely terrifying and had reached the peak 6th-layer martial ancestor realm. He and the black-robed skeleton, who had been talking, were the strongest among the youths from the Serene Demon Palace. Is that so? Let's see who will kill who then. Holding the spear in one hand, Lu Ming walked toward the city step by step. Kill. Let's attack together and kill him. The black-robed skeleton waved his hand. Instantly, the youths from the Serene Demon Palace roared as their figures flashed rapidly. Their bodies emitted a black glow as they slashed toward Lu Ming. Even an ordinary expert of the early stage, 9th-layer martial ancestor realm would be blasted into pieces in an instant. Not to mention that Lu Ming was a Battle 3 genius. Even if he was a Battle 4 genius, he would still die. However, was it possible for him to be a Battle 4 genius? However, they would never have imagined that Lu Ming was already a Battle 4 genius before his wind force had reached the greater success stage. Now he had surpassed the Battle 4 genius. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Lu Ming yelled as his figure soared into the sky and took a step forward. This step merged with the wind force and fire force. Boom! It was as if 9 dragons were stepping into the sky and surveying the world. This step ignored the number of people and exploded with a loud bang. Bang! Bang! The bodies of the geniuses from the Serene Demon Palace, who were below the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm, exploded without even having the chance to scream. Those above the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm spat out mouthfuls of blood as their bodies emitted cracking sounds. It was unknown how many of their bones had been broken. Even the 2 geniuses at the peak of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm spat out mouthfuls of blood and backed off rapidly. Song Yu, Song Jing, and the dozen or so young men who had taken refuge in the city were all staring with their eyes wide open. Their mouths were wide open, and they couldn't stop gasping. This scene was simply too terrifying. With a single step, more than a dozen geniuses from the Serene Demon Palace were either killed or injured. Even the 2 peak 6th-layer martial ancestor realm geniuses spat out mouthfuls of blood. Most importantly, Lu Ming was only in the early stage of the 5th stage of the martial ancestor realm. How was that possible? How many battles did he have? How could there be such an expert in this world? Damn it! Damn it! Let's go! Let's go! He's a peerless monster. Let's leave first and wait for Senior Brother Yu and the others to return before we kill him. The black-robed skeleton roared. He was scared out of his wits. You want to leave now? Too late. Lu Ming sneered and took another step forward. 9 dragons in the sky. Bang! The heavens and earth shook violently. The severely injured disciples of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm of the Serene Demon Palace let out cries of agony as their bodies could no longer withstand the force and exploded. Even the 2 peak 6th-layer martial ancestor realm geniuses felt as if their bodies had been hit by a 10,000-meter-tall mountain. Their bodies emitted cracking sounds as they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Both of them were peerless geniuses who had slightly surpassed the level of the Second World War geniuses. Their combat strength had barely reached the early stage of the 9th-layer martial ancestor realm, which was why they were still alive after receiving 2 kicks. Run, run, run. The two of them screamed in their hearts as they were terrified to the extreme. They turned into 2 rays of light and fled in all directions. Die. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he waved his hand forcefully. 2 spear glows were fired and instantly pierced through the air toward the two. Slash. One of them had his heart penetrated by the spear glows, causing him to let out a furious roar as his body fell to the ground. As for the black-robed skeleton, his reaction was slightly faster, and he managed to avoid being hit in a vital spot. However, one of his arms was pierced by the spear glows and exploded. Bastard, the Serene Demon Palace will not let you off. Next time, I will tear you into pieces. A voice that was filled with hatred rang out from afar. In an instant, the black-robed skeleton disappeared. Trying to escape? Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly as he took another step forward. Lu Ming's body disappeared in an instant. He left behind a dumbfounded crowd. Lu Ming executed the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps. With 1 step, he covered a distance of 10 miles. When Lu Ming appeared 10 miles away, he frowned. The aura of the youth from the Serene Demon Palace had suddenly disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming scanned the area, but did not find any trace of him. It seems that the other party has cultivated some kind of skill or some kind of treasure that can conceal his aura and hide his tracks. Lu Ming searched for a while, but still could not find any trace of him. He could only give up and return to the city. More than a dozen corpses of the Serene Demon Palace's disciples were lying motionless in various places. Their storage rings were intact. The people in the city did not dare to touch them because these were Lu Ming's spoils of war. Lu Ming's figure flickered as he collected the storage rings of the Serene Demon Palace's disciples. At the same time, he devoured their blood essence. Lu, brother Lu. At this time, Song Yu and Song Jing flew over. Song Yu looked at Lu Ming with reverence. Brother Song, let's enter the city first. Lu Ming said. Then, the 3 of them flew into the city. After flying into the city, Lu Ming was a little surprised because he saw several youths flying out. Lu Ming grabbed a burly youth and asked, Brother, why are they flying out? Sigh. The burly youth sighed and said, Brother, although you're strong, you don't know that the Serene Demon Palace is an extremely powerful sect. The area where the Serene Demon Palace is located is called the Serene Demon Mountain Range. There are many high-level empires in that area, but the Serene Demon Palace is undoubtedly the overlord of that area. Even high-level empires have to listen to the Serene Demon Palace's orders. Almost all the geniuses in that area have joined the Serene Demon Palace and become their disciples. There is a portion of the Serene Demon Palace's disciples in this city. Those people just now are not the strongest among them. 7 of them went to another city early this morning to investigate, but they will return in 2 days at most. At that time, a great disaster will befall us. All of us will die. That's why they chose to leave this place, preferring to find another city to settle down. The burly youth was honest, explaining everything to Lu Ming in detail. So that's how it is. Lu Ming was enlightened. He then asked, What are the cultivation levels of the 7 people who left? Almost all of them are late-stage martial ancestor realm and above. 2 of them are early-stage martial ancestor realm, 7th-stage geniuses. They are in between the 2nd and 3rd stage of the martial ancestor realm and are extremely powerful. Brother, although you're strong, you're most likely not their match. You'd better leave this place quickly, the burly youth advised. Thank you for telling me. Lu Ming cupped his fists, but he had no intention of leaving. Chapter 382. Although it was dangerous outside at night, if they stayed here, they would definitely be killed when the people from the Netherworld Demon Palace returned. It was better to leave early. Brother Song, what do you guys plan to do? Lu Ming looked at Song Yu and Song Jing. If we leave the city at night, we will be in danger. I believe in Brother Lu. Song Yu said firmly, intending to stay here first. Song Jing nodded and followed Song Yu. All right, then you guys should rest first. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He casually found a room in the city and sat down cross-legged. Recently, his comprehension of the Heaven Path Palm had been getting deeper and deeper. He felt that he could break through at any time. Once the Heaven Path Palm broke through, he would have another trump card. In his mind, the aura that he remembered from the Gate of Heaven kept circulating. For some reason, as time passed, the aura became fainter and fainter. Lu Ming reckoned that it wouldn't be long before he forgot about that aura. Yes, he would forget about it. It would disappear from his memory. Therefore, he had to master the Heaven Path Palm within this period of time. Lu Ming closed his eyes and continued to comprehend. The aura of the Gate of Heaven and the Heaven Path Palm kept verifying each other. Lu Ming's comprehension of the Heaven Path Palm was getting deeper and deeper. He felt that there was only a layer of paper between them. As long as he could pierce through this layer, Lu Ming would be able to successfully master the Heaven Path Palm. Time passed and slowly night fell. Heaven and earth fell into darkness again. Dark clouds covered the sky. Ga, Ga, Ga outside. Strange cries were incessant. It was abnormally terrifying. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and walked out of the room. Looking into the distance, he could see many black shadows flickering outside the city. However, the city emitted a layer of hazy light. It was like a semicircle that enveloped the entire city. Those spirits seemed to be very afraid of this light. They wandered outside and didn't dare to charge in. This light was formed by the inscription Great Array. The peerless experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace had inscribed great arrays on all the cities in the Dongming ancient battlefield so that the selection could be carried out smoothly. Lu Ming saw that other than Song Yu and Song Jing, there were a few other people in the city who hadn't left, including the burly young man who had returned. When he saw Lu Ming, he smiled brightly. After watching for a while, Lu Ming returned to his room and started comprehending the Heaven's Path Palm. Soon a day passed. On the second night, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly flashed. His comprehension of the heavenly Dao Palm finally had a major breakthrough. He felt that he had succeeded in comprehending it. I'll go out and test it during the day. Following which, Lu Ming continued to comprehend and deepen his understanding of the Heaven's Path Palm. Time passed. Soon, the curtain of night retreated and light returned to the world. Lu Ming left the city and flew into the distance. Soon, he arrived at a large mountain range. Heaven's Law Palm. Suddenly, Lu Ming let out a loud roar and thrust his palm towards the sky. Wang! A formless wave spread out from Lu Ming's palm. Then, a huge palm print formed in the sky. This palm print was transparent like a human's palm, but it had 9 fingers. The palm print was dozens of meters long and wide. It came down from the sky and hit a 1,000-meter tall mountain peak. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, the 1,000-meter tall mountain directly exploded. All the trees and rocks were directly annihilated, turning into ashes and dissipating. It didn't explode into rubble, but was directly annihilated. In the blink of an eye, a 1,000-meter tall mountain peak was gone. What a powerful force! Even Lu Ming himself was dumbfounded. According to the secret manual of the 3 Dao Palms, very few people had been able to master the 3rd palm, the Heaven's Law Palm. Once mastered, it would be infinitely close to a heaven-class martial skill. Moreover, it wasn't the 1st or 2nd level, but the strongest power. The power of the Heaven's Law Palm has completely surpassed the 1st step of the 9 dragons, heaven-stomping steps. It has become my strongest killing move. Lu Ming laughed heartily. unless Lu Ming mastered the second step of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. He would probably be able to surpass the power of the heavens' law palm. Boom! Then, Lu Ming started to cultivate again. Every palm strike was extremely powerful. With each strike, 100-meter deep pit appeared on the ground. When it hit the mountain peak exploded and was annihilated. Lu Ming struck out more than a dozen palms before he stopped. Because the heavens' law palm consumed too much energy, Lu Ming could only strike out more than a dozen palms with his current cultivation before his genuine qi ran out. Lu Ming took out a pile of spiritual crystals and absorbed the energy in them to recover his genuine qi. 2 hours later, Lu Ming's genuine qi had completely recovered. Let's go back to the city and figure it out. Lu Ming smiled. His figure flashed, and he flew back to the city. When he was still some distance away from the city, a shrill scream came from the city. Lu Ming's expression changed, and he quickly flew back to the city. At this moment, 8 figures appeared in the city. Each of them was wearing a black skeleton robe. One of them was pale and had a broken arm. It was the person who had escaped from Lu Ming 2 days ago. They were all experts from the Serene Devil Palace. Song Yu, Song Jing, the burly youth, and the other 5 people who had stayed in the city were all captured by the Serene Devil Palace. One of them had an arm chopped off by a youth from the Serene Devil Palace. He was the one who had screamed earlier. Tell me, where did that little bastard go? The youth who had escaped 2 days ago stared at Song Yu and the others coldly, like a malicious spirit. I really don't know. He was still here in the morning, and then he left. I beg you, let me go. The youth who had his arm chopped off screamed in agony. Let you go? You were there in the battle 2 days ago. Since you were there, why didn't you help us kill that bastard? You saw it. Not helping is a crime punishable by death. Die. The Serene Devil Palace disciple who had escaped had a cold expression on his face. With a swing of his sword, the youth's head flew high into the air. Song Yu, Song Jing, and the others were as pale as paper. The 2 of you are in cahoots with that bastard. Don't worry, the 2 of you won't die so easily. I'll let the 2 of you taste the greatest pain in the world before letting you die. The Serene Devil Palace, disciple said coldly. The other 7 disciples of the Serene Devil Palace looked on coldly from the side. Their gazes were extremely cold. Both Song Yu and Song Jing were trembling in fear. Haha, are you afraid? If you're afraid, quickly think of a way to call that little bastard back. The Serene Devil Palace disciple laughed maniacally. No need to call, I'm here. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the sky. Everyone quickly looked up. In the sky, Lu Ming stood there and looked down. His expression was very cold and his eyes were extremely cold. He didn't expect that the Serene Devil Palace's people would arrive so soon after he went out to cultivate. Little bastard, you're finally back. Chapter 383. Brother Lu, you leave now. When Song Yu saw Lu Ming, he was overjoyed at first, but then he thought of something and shouted again. The Serene Demon Hall was too powerful. Apart from the young man who had run away, the other 7 people were at least at the late stage of the martial ancestor realm. Among them, 2 were at the late stage of the martial ancestor realm. 3 were at the peak of the martial ancestor realm, and 2 were at the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. Their combined power was too powerful. No matter how powerful Lu Ming was, he was no match for them. Although Song Yu hoped that a miracle would happen and that Lu Ming could save them, his rationality told him that it was impossible. Leave? Today, none of you shall leave. The one who spoke was a green-haired young man. He was about 24 or 25 years old and had a slender figure. His aura was intimidating and his long green hair reached his waist. His eyes were cold and emotionless as he looked at Lu Ming and said, "You killed my men? Good, very good. You will pay a heavy price for this. I'm afraid you don't have the ability." Lu Ming smiled faintly. Then I'll show you. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a violent aura exploded from the green-haired young man's body. Triple kill of the serene demon, spirit severing. The green-haired young man shouted, and a sword chime sounded. A dark green sword chi shot out from the green-haired young man's hand. In an instant, it crossed thousands of meters and slashed at Lu Ming's glabella. Complete metal force. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Swoosh! The demon-suppressing spear appeared and stabbed forward. The wind and fire force exploded. Boom! The spear radiance and the sword chi collided, and there was a dazzling light at the point of contact. Then, the spear radiance and the sword chi dissipated together. They were evenly matched. This person is not weaker than Prince Tianxi. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, and he could roughly determine the other party's combat strength. Without a doubt, the other party was a genius between a Second World War genius and a Third World War genius. He was at the early stage of the martial ancestor realm and should be able to unleash the combat strength of a late stage of the martial ancestor realm. Kid, you are quite capable. Take another move. Triple kill of the serene demon, god-slaying. The green-haired youth roared. A dark green light burst out from his body. It was extremely dazzling. Then he became one with his sword and turned into an incomparably dazzling dark green sword light, rushing towards Lu Ming. In the blink of an eye, he had covered a distance of several thousand meters. The sky was slashed by the sword light, and the airwaves rolled and split into two. It was as if the sky had been split open. It was extremely shocking. The power of the slash was significantly stronger than the previous one, which had achieved the strength of the late-stage, ninth-layer martial ancestor realm. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward. Heaven and earth rumbled as a terrifying power surged forward. Boom! Once again, a terrifying roar resounded in the sky. Shock waves swept across, and sand and pebbles flew everywhere. Bang! 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 A figure flew back and took 3 consecutive steps in the air, causing the air to explode and emit a violent rumble. It was the green-haired youth. On the other side, Lu Ming's body swayed slightly. He took a step back and steadied himself. It was obvious that Lu Ming was stronger than him. The green-robed youth's face instantly turned greener than his hair. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he uttered a roar. How is this possible? A mere early-stage, 5th-layer martial ancestor realm cultivator is able to resist my killing blow. How is this possible? He could not accept it. If a mere early-stage, 5th-layer martial ancestor realm cultivator was able to fight against him, wouldn't that mean that Lu Ming had surpassed the strength of a 4th-layer genius, and was between a 4th-layer genius and a 5th-layer genius? That was too shocking. Not to mention being between a 4th-layer genius and a 5th-layer genius. There was not even a 4th-layer genius in the serene demon palace. Who was this kid? Where did he come from? Junior brother, let's attack together and kill this guy. Since we're already enemies, the more talented he is, the more we should kill him. With a flicker, a bulky youth appeared beside the green-haired youth. The youth was the other 7th-layer martial ancestor realm genius. Great, let's attack together. Set up the serene demon 7 slaughter formation and kill this guy. The green-haired youth gave the order. Shush! Shush! With a flicker, the other serene demon palace disciples in the city below appeared behind the green-haired youth and the bulky youth. There were 7 of them in total, and they stood in a strange formation. As for the fleeing serene demon palace disciple, he stood aside with a cold smile and stared at Lu Ming with murderous intent. Is it a joint attack formation? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. As for Song Yu, Song Jing, and the rest, they looked at the sky anxiously. Now, they could only wait and hope for a miracle. Kill! Kill! Suddenly, 7 voices that were filled with murderous intent rang out. Then the 7 serene demon palace disciples moved. The 7 of them flashed in a strange trajectory and turned into countless light shadows. surrounding Lu Ming in the middle. Chi! Suddenly, 7 rays of sword chi shot toward Lu Ming from 7 different directions. Lu Ming's body flashed, and he avoided 6 rays of sword chi. However, there was 1 ray that he could not avoid. Shush! The long spear lashed out, containing the power of wind and fire. Boom! Lu Ming's body trembled, and he could not help but retreat. The power of this sword was even stronger than the green-haired youth's second attack. Lu Ming did not use the 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps, and was instantly at a disadvantage. Shush! Shush! While Lu Ming was retreating, a few more sword auras slashed toward Lu Ming's back violently. Every step was filled with murderous intent, and there was no way to avoid it. 9 dragons' heaven-ascending steps. Lu Ming roared, and a dragon's roar rang out. Shush! Lu Ming's body turned into a ray of light and disappeared in a flash. Not only did he avoid the rays of sword chi behind him, but he also left the serene demon palace's formation and appeared in the sky not far away. How is this possible? What kind of movement technique is that? The serene demon palace disciples widened their eyes in shock and disbelief. Their formation was a famous formation of the serene demon palace. When the 7 of them worked together, their combat strength increased exponentially. Furthermore, those who were trapped would not be able to escape and could only be killed. With the strength of the 7 of them, even a peak martial ancestor Realm 9 martial artist would be killed if they worked together. Only a half-step king could escape. However, Lu Ming was only at the early martial ancestor Realm 5. How is this possible? This formation is indeed amazing. All right, I've seen it. I won't play with you anymore. Lu Ming said indifferently. This caused the crowd to be stunned. Lu Ming had purposely allowed himself to be surrounded by the formation. He wanted to see the power of the formation. Big brother, aren't you being too childish? Song Yu and the others wanted to scream. However, the serene demon palace disciples' faces were extremely gloomy. You won't play with us? What big words! Let me tell you, even if you leave today, your friends will end up in an incomparably miserable state because of you. The green-haired youth glanced at Song Yu and the others below and said with a ferocious expression, with Lu Ming's movement technique, they would not be able to stop him if he wanted to leave. However, Song Yu and the others could not leave. Brother Lu, don't worry about us. Leave quickly. Song Yu shouted again. Chapter 384. Not leaving? What did he mean by not leaving and not playing with them? The people from the Serene Devil Hall were stunned. What I meant was to get rid of you, quickly. I won't play with you anymore. Lu Ming said with a faint smile. What, get rid of us? The people from the Serene Devil Hall were stunned at first. Then they laughed maniacally. Ha ha ha. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Get rid of us? Do you think you can? This kid is spouting nonsense to disturb our mental states. Don't talk anymore. Let's go all out and kill him. As soon as he said that, the 7 disciples from the Serene Devil Hall shone with silver light. Those were chakras, the chakras of king-class bloodlines. Among the 7 of them, 2 had level, 2 king-class bloodlines, 3 had level, 3 king-class bloodlines, and the strongest 2 had level for king-class bloodlines. As their chakras shone and their bloodlines erupted, the auras of the 7 disciples were raised to their peak. Kill! The 7 disciples from the Serene Devil Hall formed a large formation. Sword chi shone as they charged toward Lu Ming. Bloodline? I have it too. Lu Ming smiled faintly and activated his second bloodline. A tall and hazy stone tablet with 4 silver chakras flashed and disappeared. Level for king-class bloodline. Although it's strong, what's the use? The green-haired youth roared. Sword chi burst forth and shrouded Lu Ming. What if I add this? Lu Ming sneered. Roar! A dragon's roar was heard. The 9 dragons' bloodline rushed out and roared at the sky. The people from the Serene Devil Hall, as well as Song Yu and the rest, widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. King-class bloodline? Why does he have two types of king-class bloodlines? Is he a natural king-class bloodline? Natural king-class bloodline? Impossible. The people from the serene Devil Hall shouted in disbelief. Even the operation of the formation came to a halt. Nothing is impossible. Devour! Lu Ming yelled. Roar! The 9 dragons' bloodline roared and opened its mouth. A terrifying devouring power came out of its mouth and shrouded the 7 people from the serene Devil Hall. What's going on? I feel that my bloodline power is unstable. My blood essence is pulsating. Everyone from the serene Devil Palace screamed in horror. A martial arts grandmaster could unleash both bloodlines at the same time. However, for most martial artists, their first bloodline was only of the ordinary class. Above the martial ancestor realm, when they unleashed their ordinary class bloodline, the enhancement effect was extremely limited and negligible. Therefore, most people would only use their second bloodline. Very few people would use both bloodlines at the same time. But Lu Ming was different. Both of his bloodlines were at the king level, and they had different effects on him. He could use them as much as he wanted. Petty tricks. Keep calm and go kill him. The green-haired youth roared. Really? Let's continue then. Heaven's palm. Lu Ming sneered and suddenly struck out with his palm. Huff, huff. The spiritual chi of the world seemed to have been sucked dry as a huge transparent palm print appeared. With a violent attack, it pressed down on the 7 people from the Netherworld Demon Palace like Mount Tai. The terrifying pressure caused heaven and earth to tremble violently. The sword chi that the serene Devil Palaces group had unleashed collapsed in an instant. Ah, what kind of martial skill was this? How can it be so terrifying? The Yumo Palace disciple screamed in horror. This was simply unbelievable. Hold on together. The green-robed youth's eyes were red as he screamed with all his might. The 7 Yumo Palace disciples used all their strength and activated the joint attack formation to the maximum. The 7 of them worked together and slashed out a shocking sword chi that slashed at the heaven's palm print. Boom! The sword chi slashed at the center of the heaven's palm print, causing an earth-shattering boom. Terrifying shock waves swept out and swept away all the clouds in the sky within a radius of dozens of miles. Even the city below shook violently. Song Yu and the others were blown against the wall by the strong wind before they could stabilize themselves. But they could not care less about their sorry state. They widened their eyes and stared at the sky. Which side would win? Bam! All of a sudden, the sword light trembled and exploded, turning into specks of light that dissipated into the air. Boom! Although a portion of the heaven's palm print's power had been neutralized, the remaining power was still terrifying and continued to press down. Bam! Bam! The 7 Yumo Palace disciples were like toads. They could not move at all as they were blasted into the mud. The 2 with the weakest cultivation let out blood-curdling screams before they stopped breathing. As for the 3 geniuses at the peak of the 6th martial ancestor realm, although they were not dead, they were half dead. Only the 2 7th martial ancestor realm cultivators spat out a mouthful of blood, but still maintained a certain level of combat strength. Let's go. The green-robed youth roared and was about to use a secret technique to escape. But Lu Ming's second palm strike followed. Boom! Another huge palm print was formed and pressed down on the Yumo Palace disciples. No. The green-haired youth and the others screamed in despair. The heaven's palm print was extremely mysterious. It completely locked onto them, and there was no way for them to escape. Boom! Even though the remaining 2 tried their best, they could not withstand it. Boom, boom, boom. Smoke and dust filled the air as the 2 of them were blasted into the ground, creating 2 huge craters. They lay in the craters, unable to move at all. At that moment, Song Yu, Song Jing, and the others were dumbfounded. They could not recover from their shock. The 7 geniuses of the Yumo Palace had joined forces to set up a formation, but it had been defeated by Lu Ming with 2 palms. That was too terrifying. On the other side of the sky, the Yumo Palace disciple who had escaped last time was trembling all over. His lips were quivering and his face was drained of blood. His eyes were filled with fear. Demon, monster, this is all my fault. Run, run. I have to get away from this monster. Run. He screamed in his heart and was about to use a secret technique to escape. Right at that moment, Pucci, a spear light pierced through his heart from the back. The Yumo Palace disciple roared in anger and turned his head desperately, only to see Lu Ming's cold eyes. I let you escape last time. Do you think there will be a second time? A faint voice sounded from Lu Ming's mouth. Then the long spear shook and the spear light destroyed the Yumo Palace disciple's vitality. His corpse fell to the ground. Then Lu Ming took another step forward and walked toward the green-haired youth and the others. At that moment, the green-haired youth and the green-haired youth were unable to move. Wait a minute, don't kill us. We are disciples of the Yumo Palace. There are many geniuses in my Yumo Palace. There are more than 500 geniuses who came in this time. We are just a part of them. There are many stronger geniuses in other cities. If you kill us, the Yumo Palace disciples won't let you go. The green-haired youth shouted, Hee, as long as I kill you, how will the other Yumo Palace disciples know that I killed you? Lu Ming sneered. Of course I know. I don't mind telling you that I have already copied your figure with the shadow-breathing talisman and sent it to the strongest genius in my Yumo Palace. You won't be able to escape. The green-haired youth shouted. So, it's the shadow-breathing talisman? Lu Ming's heart stirred. The shadow-breathing talisman was the same as the 10,000 miles sound-transmitting talisman. Both were refined by inscription masters. Chapter 385. Seeing that Lu Ming was silent, the green-haired youth thought that Lu Ming was afraid and was overjoyed. How about this? As long as you let us go, I'll plead with the experts of the Serene Demon Hall to spare your life. We'll pretend that nothing happened today. The green-haired youth said. Since Lu Ming was afraid, he believed that Lu Ming would accept this condition. A vicious, murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. He was roaring in his heart. As long as he could get out of danger this time, he would definitely let more powerful cultivators from the Serene Demon Palace pursue Lu Ming with all their might. He would let Lu Ming die without a burial ground and make Lu Ming regret offending him. Are you done? Lu Ming suddenly smiled faintly and said, What? The green-haired youth was stunned. If you're done, you can be on your way. A cold killing intent burst forth from Lu Ming's body. You. No, don't. The green-haired youth and the other 7th-level martial ancestor realm genius screamed in horror. They had thought that they had seen hope and that Lu Ming would let them go. However, in the next moment, they had fallen from heaven to hell. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lu Ming did not bother to talk nonsense with them. Spear radiance shot out and killed the 2 of them. Then he killed the other severely injured people one by one, took their storage rings and devoured their blood essence. Brother Lu, we have to thank you for saving us this time. Song Yu flew over and stammered. Lu Ming was becoming more and more mysterious in his heart. He was becoming more and more unreachable. There's no need to thank me. I've implicated you this time. Brother Song, what do you plan to do next? This city has been exposed. I'm afraid that the experts of the Serene Demon Hall will come. Lu Ming said, We've received news that there's a small city in the north. There are experts in our area, and we plan to meet them there. Song Yu said. Lu Ming nodded. This was good too. He was not a charitable person and could not spend time helping them. They had to rely on themselves. Immediately, the Song siblings, as well as the sturdy young man, bid farewell to Lu Ming and left for the north. Lu Ming walked into a room and sat down cross-legged to refine the blood essence he had just devoured. They were the blood essences of martial artists in the 6th and 7th level of the martial ancestor realm. They were not of much help to Lu Ming. After refining them, Lu Ming's cultivation was still at the peak of the 5th level of the martial ancestor realm. Now that I've successfully mastered the Heaven's Path Palm, my battle prowess has increased greatly. Although I haven't reached the level of a 5-battle genius, I've reached the peak of a 4-battle genius. Lu Ming concluded his combat strength. If Lu Ming unleashed his full strength and unleashed all of his bloodline, the Heaven's Path Palm combined with the power of wind and fire would allow Lu Ming's battle prowess to reach the peak of Battle 4. Earlier, he had used this move to defeat the Serene Devil Halls group in one fell swoop. However, the peak of the 4 battles genius was only a step away from the 5 battles genius. However, this step was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was extremely difficult to reach the 5 battles genius level. Even if Lu Ming mastered the 2nd step of the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps, he would not be able to reach the 5 battles genius level. If I want to increase my battle prowess quickly, I can only increase my cultivation level quickly. Lu Ming pondered. The power of the Heaven's Path Palm was already extremely terrifying. Even if he mastered the 2nd step of the 9 dragons' sky-stomping steps, his power would not be much stronger than the Heaven's Path Palm. Unless he mastered the 3rd step, his battle prowess would increase greatly. However, he had not even mastered the 2nd step, let alone the 3rd step. In terms of power, the power of wind and fire were both at the peak of the Great Accomplishment Realm. The power of the 2 powers when combined was extremely terrifying. Even if Lu Ming broke through to the Great Accomplishment Realm in one of the powers, the power of the 2 powers would not increase by much, unless both powers reached the Great Accomplishment Realm. However, this was not something that could be comprehended in a short period of time. Therefore, if Lu Ming wanted to increase his battle prowess in a short period of time, he could only increase his cultivation level. Among the geniuses in this selection, his shortcoming was his cultivation level. I need to find a place with powerful demonic beasts and hunt them to increase my cultivation level. Lu Ming made up his mind and left the small town, heading west. He headed west, looking for a place with powerful demonic beasts. Slowly night fell. Night came again. However, with Lu Ming's power of wind and fire, as long as he did not encounter anything too strange, he would not be in danger. Those spirits could not do anything to him. He rushed forward until the day came again, and the world regained its vitality. During the day, Lu Ming sped up. Soon, he had covered hundreds of thousands of miles. Finally, Lu Ming stopped in the middle of a vast mountain. This mountain was full of vitality. In the depths of the mountain, there were loud roars, accompanied by waves of powerful aura that soared to the sky. Lu Ming sensed more than 10 Class 8 LV-4 demonic beasts aura. There were even Class 9 LV-4 demonic beasts aura. Great, this is the place. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This boundless mountain seemed to have nurtured many powerful demonic beasts. Lu Ming rushed into the mountain without hesitation. Hiss! Not long after, a python that was more than 50 meters long pounced toward Lu Ming. The python emitted a Class 8 LV-4 demonic beast's aura. Good timing. Lu Ming grinned and thrust his long spear. With a puff, it pierced a big hole in the python's head. The python hissed, and its huge body rolled, crushing several large trees that would take several people to wrap their arms around them. After rolling a few times, it stopped breathing. Lu Ming stepped forward and devoured the blood essence of the python. At the same time, he took out the demon core and devoured it as well. The blood essence and monster core of a Class 8 LV-4 demonic beast were much more effective. After a while, Lu Ming's body shook slightly, and he finally broke through to the middle stage of martial Grandmaster Realm. Then, he continued to hunt demonic beasts. Half a day later, Lu Ming had killed 8 Class 8 LV4 demonic beasts and a Class 9 LV4 demonic beast. His cultivation had reached the peak of the middle stage of Martial Grandmaster Realm and was not far from the late stage of Martial Grandmaster Realm. At this time, night fell again, and all the demonic beasts went into hiding. Lu Ming followed a demonic beast and hid in a cave more than 10 meters underground. But before long, the spirit still found him. Lu Ming came to a conclusion. It was useless for outsiders like them to hide. The ghost would still find them. On the other hand, the ghost would not find the demonic beasts if they hid. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only resist and wait for time to pass. When the day came, Lu Ming meditated for a while. After he recovered, he continued to hunt demonic beasts. Croak! Half an hour later, Lu Ming sprinted out of a valley and frantically fled into the distance. A loud cry came from the valley, shaking the heavens and the earth, causing countless trees to tremble. Following this, a 50-meter tall toad that looked like a small mountain rushed out of the valley. Whoosh! The giant toad opened its mouth, and a scarlet tongue pierced through the air toward Lu Ming. Chapter 386. Boom! The giant toad's scarlet tongue didn't hit Lu Ming. Instead, it hit a 1,000-meter-tall mountain peak. The giant toad was enraged. It flicked its scarlet tongue, and the 1,000-meter-tall mountain peak exploded in half. That part of the mountain peak whizzed toward Lu Ming. Nest, this toad is too strong. It's definitely a half-step king. Lu Ming was shocked. He used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and instantly moved 10 miles away. Rumble. Behind him, that part of the mountain peak hit the ground and let out a deafening rumble. Who knew how many creatures were slaughtered by this attack? Lu Ming didn't stop. He took a few more steps and finally got rid of the giant toad. This time he was really unlucky. He had just casually barged into a valley, and he had already alarmed such a powerful existence. Seems like I still have to be careful. Who knows what kind of existences reside in this ancient battlefield? If I meet a real beast king, I won't even know how I died. Lu Ming thought. He then focused and carefully observed while continuing to hunt beasts. Rich medicinal fragrance. Lu Ming hadn't walked more than 100 miles when a rich medicinal fragrance suddenly assaulted his nose. To the left. Lu Ming identified and found that the medicinal fragrance came from the left. Immediately, Lu Ming went to the left. There were 2 mountains in front of him. They were 7,000 to 8,000 meters tall and pierced through the clouds. They were exceptionally majestic. In the middle of the 2 mountain peaks, there was a huge canyon. The medicinal fragrance was coming from there. Lu Ming suddenly stopped. In the forest, a few corpses of beasts were lying on the ground. There were sword wounds on their bodies. From the looks of it, they hadn't been dead for long. There are already people here. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Lu Ming immediately focused and continued forward. Along the way, he saw many more corpses. Swish! Swish! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. 8 young men and women appeared in front of Lu Ming. Halt! This place has already been occupied by my soaring tiger mountain range. Friend, please return. The 8 young men and women sized up Lu Ming. One of them, a blue-robed young man, said, "The Flying Tiger Mountain Range." Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The Flying Tiger Mountain Range was a small area south of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Although it was bigger than the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, it wasn't much bigger. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he said, "Occupied by you? I've never heard of any place in the Dongming ancient battlefield that is privately owned. If you can come, then so can I." It was obvious that there were treasures in the canyon. The people of the Soaring Tiger Mountain Range wanted to occupy this place, clear out the demonic beasts here, and take the treasures for themselves. It was not easy for Lu Ming to meet him. How could he miss this opportunity? Brat, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. a mere martial ancestor realm level, 5 cultivation dares to bargain with us. Since you don't want to leave, stay here forever. The blue-robed young man's face darkened, and he emitted a murderous aura. I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Lu Ming let out a calm smile, boasting shamelessly. A mere 5th-layer martial ancestor realm cultivator dares to be so smug. Die. Beside the blue-robed young man, a cold young man with a cultivation of the early stage 6th-layer martial ancestor realm stepped forward and lashed out at Lu Ming. Roar! A ferocious tiger appeared and lunged at Lu Ming. This young man was a genius. With his cultivation of the early stage 6th-layer martial ancestor realm, he believed that he could easily suppress Lu Ming. However, his face turned pale in the next instant. Lu Ming gave a casual slap, and the ferocious tiger that he condensed was easily dispersed. Following this, Lu Ming continued to slap him. Pa! The crisp sound of a slap rang out, and the cold-looking youth let out a miserable cry. His body was like a cannonball as he was sent flying. He crashed through 2 large trees before coming to a stop. He lay there twitching non-stop, having already fainted. The others inhaled deeply and stared at Lu Ming in astonishment. Let's attack together. The blue-robed young man let out a roar as he collected his thoughts. Following this, silver chakras appeared as their bloodlines were unleashed, resulting in 7 powerful auras. Among them, the blue-robed young man's cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th-layer martial ancestor realm. Humph! Lu Ming harumphed as his eyes glistened. A long spear appeared in his hand as he lashed out. Bang! Bang! Following 6 explosions, apart from the blue-robed young man, the other 6 were sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. Meanwhile, the blue-robed young man was knocked 100 meters backward, while coughing out mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming frowned as he was not satisfied with his attack. The so-called genius of the Battle 3 or Battle 4 did not mean that he could achieve that with a casual attack. It meant that he had to unleash his full strength to execute his ultimate move. Lu Ming's Heaven's Path Palm was able to reach the peak of the Battle 4 level. However, his 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps was only slightly better than the Battle 4 level. If he only executed the power of wind and fire without the 9 Dragons Heaven Stomping Steps or the Heaven's Path Palm, he would only be able to reach the Battle 4 level. While he was not satisfied with his attack, the blue-robed young man and the others were terrified. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, the sound of something flying could be heard. Dozens of figures flew out from the direction of the canyon. It was obvious that they were all geniuses from the Flying Tiger Mountain Range. They had been alerted earlier. How dare you go against so many people from the Flying Tiger Mountain Range alone? Are you courting death? Dozens of people stood in front of Lu Ming as a burly young man shouted coldly, "This place does not belong to the Flying Tiger Mountain Range. I can come and go as I please. You are the ones who are too overbearing." Lu Ming said calmly, "Kid, which region are you from?" The one who spoke was a young man standing in the middle of the dozens of people. This young man had a strong back and a strong waist. His arms were extremely long and could reach his knees. It was obvious that he was the leader of the group. Lu Ming looked at this person and frowned. This person gave him a dangerous feeling. Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Lu Ming said, "There was nothing to hide. Cloud Emperor Mountain Range." After hearing Lu Ming's words, the dozens of people from the Flying Tiger Mountain Range relaxed. The long-armed young man in the lead had a cold smile on his face. "So you are from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Ha! Since you dare to injure so many of us, you shall stay here forever." The long-armed young man sneered. He had said so much just now because he was afraid that Lu Ming was a genius from a large region. If that was the case, he would have to think twice. Now, there was no need for that. "Brother Fei, you are the top expert in the Flying Tiger Mountain Range. There is no need for you to kill a chicken with a butcher's knife." "I will kill him." The burly young man from before strode out. With every step he took, the ground rumbled and cracked. A giant black bear appeared above his head, and 4 silver chakras shone brightly. The early stage of the martial ancestor realm. There was no doubt that this person was a genius who was not weaker than Prince Tianchi. Die. A saber appeared in the burly young man's hand, and he slashed at Lu Ming. Chapter 387. 9 Dragons Stomping the Sky. Lu Ming did not want to waste time with him, and he immediately executed the 9 dragons, stomping the sky steps. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and the burly young man's body slid back 1,000 meters. Along the way, there was a deep gully. His body shook, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Sizzle, the sound of people sucking in cold air could be heard. The geniuses of Flying Tiger Mountain Range looked at Lu Ming in shock. It was unbelievable that he could injure the burly young man with just one move when he was only a martial ancestor realm level 5 martial ancestor. The long-armed young man was shocked at first. Then, a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. I never thought that Cloud Emperor Mountain Range would have such a demonic genius like you. I'm afraid Jian Fengyan is no match for you. All right, I'll kill you before you rise. Otherwise, you'll be a threat to Flying Tiger Mountain Range in the future. The long-armed young man said coldly. Bam! As soon as he finished speaking, he threw himself at Lu Ming like a cannonball and threw out a punch. The punch was terrifying, and it was much more powerful than the burly young man's. 9 dragons, stomping the sky. Lu Ming executed the 9 dragons, stomping the sky steps, and took a step forward. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and Lu Ming's 9 dragons, stomping the sky steps, was blocked. At the same time, a powerful force surged, and Lu Ming was pushed back. Advanced Martial Ancestor Realm Level 7 Cultivation. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's heart trembled. Roar! There was a loud roar, and a majestic giant ape appeared above the long-armed young man's head. There were 5 silver chakras on the giant ape's body. Level 5 King Class Bloodline. Steel Raging Ape. Ape King Divine Fist. The long-armed young man roared and threw out another punch. The fist radiance was like a giant ape's fist, and it flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face turned grave. This person was definitely a triple battle genius, and he was no weaker than Jian Fengyan. Heaven Palm! Lu Ming executed his most powerful move without hesitation. The Heaven Palm print formed and collided with the Ape King Divine Fist. An earth-shattering boom rang out, and everything within a radius of tens of miles shook violently. The fist and palm collided, forming a terrifying hurricane that swept across the sky and earth. Some of the weaker youths in the soaring Tiger Mountain Range were swept away by the hurricane and were forced to retreat. Boom! After the loud noise, a figure flew backward rapidly. It was Lu Ming. He flew several thousand meters away and stood in the air with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The long-armed young man was too powerful. His cultivation had reached the late 7th level of the martial arts Grandmaster realm, which was more than 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's. In addition, he was a 3-fight genius, so he was more than 5 levels higher than Lu Ming. Lu Ming had not reached the level of a 5-battle genius. So how could he be a match for him? He's still not dead. Little did he know that the long-armed young man's heart was in turmoil. Lu Ming's battle prowess shocked him until his hair stood on end. He had also been to those big areas before. However, even in a large region, there was no such terrifying genius. Not to mention anything else, he had only heard of the 4th battle genius, but had never seen one. It was obvious that Lu Ming had surpassed the 4th battle genius. Die, he must die! The long-armed young man roared in his heart and yelled, I've already injured him. Let's attack together. We can't let him leave alive. Having said that, he hurriedly attacked Lu Ming. Kill! The other cultivators of the soaring Tiger Mountain Range yelled as they attacked at the same time. resulting in a shocking scene. These young men were the strongest cultivators of the soaring Tiger Mountain range. It was as if all the geniuses on the monarch ranking were attacking at the same time. How terrifying was the scene! "I'm too lazy to play with you." Lu Ming turned around and left with the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. In the next instant, he was 10 miles away. What a joke! Lu Ming was not stupid to fight with so many people, including a long-armed young man. Since he was no match for them, why not retreat for the time being? Besides, Lu Ming already had a plan in mind. "Chase!" the long-armed young man yelled, but their speed was no match for Lu Ming's. In a few moments, Lu Ming was nowhere to be seen. "Damn it!" the long-armed young man cursed. "Let's go back. We must get the level 5 spiritual herbs in the valley," the long-armed young man yelled. Then, the group of cultivators of the soaring Tiger Mountain range returned to the valley to clear out the beasts inside. Lu Ming covered 10 miles in one step. He was very fast. Soon he arrived outside a valley. There was a giant toad that was half a step away from the Beast King realm in the valley. That's right. Lu Ming came here to borrow the toad's strength. He wanted to use the toad's strength to disrupt the battle and seize the opportunity to snatch the spiritual herbs in the valley. Based on the medicinal fragrance that the spirit medicine gave off, Lu Ming speculated that it was very likely a level 5 spirit medicine. A level 4 spiritual herb definitely did not have such a fragrance. A level 5 spiritual herb. Lu Ming was excited at the thought of it. A level 5 spiritual herb was a rare treasure that even a beast king would want. If he had a level 5 spiritual herb, Lu Ming could cultivate the myriad spirit battle body and push his physical body to level 6. After pondering for a while, Lu Ming rushed into the valley. Croak! After a while, an earth-shattering cry was heard, and the grass and trees shook. Then Lu Ming rushed out of the valley as if his boat was on fire. Croak! A giant toad the size of a mountain rushed out of the valley and chased after Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and appeared 10 miles away in an instant. Croak! The giant toad exerted its strength with its 4 limbs, and its enormous body rushed into the sky. It crossed 7 to 8 miles in an instant and landed heavily on the ground. Boom! Smoke and dust filled the air, and the ground cracked. Then the giant toad rushed out of the smoke and dust again and pounced on Lu Ming. Lu Ming took another step forward, causing the giant toad to pounce on nothing. A man and a toad, one chasing and one escaping, were dozens of miles away in the blink of an eye. When the giant toad stopped and did not want to give chase, Lu Ming stopped as well and shot it. The giant toad was furious and continued to chase after Lu Ming. Soon, Lu Ming came to the giant valley again. Lu Ming did not stop at all. He dashed toward the canyon directly. "Who is it?" With a loud shout, a few figures rushed out from below. One of them was the burly young man who was injured by Lu Ming. "You again? You dare to come again? You're courting death." The burly young man roared when he saw Lu Ming. Whoosh! Whoosh! A dozen figures rushed out from below. "Boy, I won't let you go this time." The long-armed young man also rushed out. "I brought you a gift. Don't thank me." Lu Ming smiled. "What?" The long-armed young man and the others were stunned. Croak! A loud roar came from afar. Then they saw a mountain-like figure rushing over from afar. "That's... oh no, retreat." The long-armed young man's expression changed drastically, and he quickly retreated. Lu Ming smiled and dashed into the house. However, a few people in the flying Tiger Mountain range did not react in time and were directly crushed by the giant toad. Boom!